fuckers, or as my daughter likes to say, ahoy, fuckers. Good to see everybody. Welcome to Gavin Games for Wednesday, I don't know, February 2nd or something. We got Valentine's Day coming up soon. Valentine's Day is so goddamn stupid. It's so goddamn stupid. Let me just give you a little tip right now, and then we'll move into the news. Good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. If you need a fucking holiday, same thing with Christmas, same thing with Hanukkah, all that shit. It's like, if you need a fucking holiday to tell you when it's time to buy the people in your lives that you love tokens of affection, gifts and cards and chocolates, then you got a real fucking problem. And chances are you won't be in that relationship you're in celebrating on Valentine's Day for long, unless you are in a marriage that is absolutely dead and you're just fucking playing it, because come on now. Optimism says, I need a swear jar. I'll make myself rich. Can you imagine if I could pay myself? That's what they mean by paying yourself first. If I could pay myself for every fuck I did, I would probably make a shit ton of money. Interesting to me that there are people on the comment section of this very channel who like to try to shame me for saying bad words and for smoking the pot. I think that's pretty goddamn hilarious. Like, what is it, 1983? Is Nancy Reagan's husband still in office? Just say no to the war on drugs. It's legal in California, and even if it wasn't, there's nothing wrong with it. Me and my wife have a fart jar, says John. I contribute to it often. That's how you keep the romance alive, sir. Jaffe, what was that song you were playing? That was none other than Alex Plox, our very own God of War member, playing Rob the Mod. Playing the song called Monarch off Alex's album called Hat'll Rain. And that is the song that's the main song for Monarch, which our own Rob the Mod is developing right now. So that's, there you go. Jaffe says, Sector, any marriage advice you can give me? I've only been married a few years. There's absolutely no advice that you need me to give you. Ultimately, you know, because everybody has a different definition of why they want to, or response to the question, why do you want to be married? Are you happily married? What does a happy marriage looks like, right? For some people, it's security in a world of chaos. I can raise my kids with this person, and I can grow old with this person. I'll always have somebody to hang out with. And yeah, maybe it's not the sexiest, craziest relationship in the world, but who cares? I'm beyond that with this particular person. I'm going for something else, right? Or if you're like, no, I got to keep it fucking steamy and hot the whole fucking time. You know, I mean, everybody's got a different view, man. So I would just say, make sure you pick the right person within reason. You'll never really know. And don't beat yourself up if your marriage doesn't work out. Marriage is kind of a really bizarre, antiquated institution that really has its basis in sexism, and so but it works for some people. So go. Your mileage may vary, but I wish you well with whatever it is that you want to do. Right. Well, Stoner Face says, marry because you want to, not because you need to. I don't know many people who marry anymore because they need to, at least in the West. Okay, listen, fellas, we got a lot to get to. Video games are just, first let's be clear. I was up last night very, very late playing the Bloodborne. Okay, the Bloodborne, even to the point that right before this show, I was on Amazon looking up figures. Like, I want a figure for my back shelf here. I've absolutely fallen head over heels in love with that fucking game. And, I made a video about it. I'll put it up pretty soon about what happened, what the transition was. But my goodness gracious, when you find a game like that you just absolutely adore, and you love living, you just want to go live in that, I don't really want to live in the world of Bloodborne, but I want to immerse myself in the world of Bloodborne. I want to spend more time there. I got past that first boss last night, and so I started exploring a little bit, because now I kind of got it figured out. Not the game, but how to, I'm not dying every 10 seconds, okay? Excuse me. And, look, man, I'm playing it, and the creature design in this fucking game is absolutely staggeringly good. It is so creative and so weird. and so unique. Scotty Goldwater says, Jaffe, do you like it better than the Demon Souls remake? I can absolutely tell you I like being in the Bloodborne world a hell of a lot better. And I really liked the Demon Souls, but the Demon Souls remake is very generic. It's very traditional sword and sorcery fantasy, at least. You know, it's kind of like a traditional Dungeons and Dragons run through, kind of a more realistic take on sort of the Black Plague, right? So it's you know, whereas Bloodborne is yeah, it's Victorian, and yes, it's, you know, Black Plaguey unto itself, but it's so much more interesting and realized. Here's what's an interesting question, though, to me, is this is the question that comes up over and over. Should those games have an easy mode? Here's what I'll say, Dalo. I don't know if they need an easy mode or not. I don't really. I mean, here's what I'll tell you. I think the biggest problem with those games, people articulate poorly. It's not that the games are necessarily really hard. It's the parts of the game where it doesn't onboard you into the experience to understand what you need to do to get better. The minute I started playing that game, and I had people in the chat explaining to me how to level up, where I go to level up, what I need to all the things that if you were playing a traditional RPG or even not traditional would probably be very self-explanatory. Well, this game not only is difficult, but one of the two things you can do to, quote, get good in this game is, number one, is you can, you know, get better with reflexes and learning patterns and how your weapon works and all that. But the other thing you can do is level up your character. But I've played this game on and off for a couple of years since it came out in 2017. I've never leveled my character until 3 days ago, because it wasn't even on my radar of something one could do in this game. And so I don't know if it so much needs an easy mode as I think it needs to be more apparent sort of how you play. And then I think maybe then you can go back to that conversation about doesn't need an easy mode. I mean, I don't think it does, but that's only because now I understand how to play it. But I think that's ludicrous that I have to have a stream with anywhere from, you know, 80 to 700 people, depending on the day, watching, that give me that information. Your average person is not going to have that. Something great about FromSoft, says Zero, is their art monster design. Yeah, which is often why they get a pass on older graphics. I mean, look, I don't require games to be remastered, and I'm playing Bloodborne, which was a PS4 exclusive, and I'm playing it and loving it, but I would be lying if I said I don't give a fuck about people asking for a remaster. I would love to fucking see that goddamn game in just like glorious, highest resolution, smooth at 60, kind of given the Blue Point, rub and tug to it. I would love that. Hello, Dennis Lamov. Dennis Lamov is my good brand new best friend from Russia. Dennis, how you doing, buddy? He says, hey there, Jaffe. Have a great stream. Thanks, sir. Thanks for the solution on the design document. Yes, let me tell people about that. Sony overpaid for Bungie for one IP. 3.6 billion is way too much. Jim Ryan stopped drinking at work. We'll talk about that because I have some thoughts, and there was a lot of new information or data coming out today about the acquisition. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I will say, what he's talking about thanks for the solution. So Dennis is one of our new members, and he spun the wheel the other week, and he won a design document. So Jill was working with me today, and she went down to the UPS, and she says, hey, I want to mail this. Okay, where's the fine fellow live? They say, he lives in Russia. They say, not a problem, pal. Fork over $200, it was like with tax, $42. And she calls me, and she says, you sure you want to send this to Russia? It's going to cost you $250 basically to send it. I'm like, no. So in other words, basically, here's a heads up. If you ever win anything on this show, I'm not going to ship international. What I did was, for Dennis, is I'm giving him a PDF of the document and a $20 Steam gift card to sort of make up for it. But so, and by the way, mugs went out today, with the exception of the one I have to sign. That still has to come to me. It hasn't gotten here yet. T-shirts went out today. Design documents went out today. And the last couple of copies of the Fallen God, God of War trade paperback went out today. That's all for members and people spinning the wheel and things like that. I do want to let you know I have an extra copy of Fallen God, and that is for a fellow named the Forgotten Dumpling, who was a God of War member when the shit went down, but I can't get in contact with him. So if you're watching now, or anyone knows him, tell him to hit me up on Discord with an address so I can get him his book if he wants it. All right. John Goetz, thank you, buddy. He says, make the easy mode $5 DLC and lock you out of online if used. Hell, even after platinuming the original Dark Souls, I want to go back and enjoy the story on easy. Yeah, I mean, I don't, I don't want to get into the debate. I hear you, and I appreciate the super chat. I don't want to get into the debate really, only because, I'm not qualified yet. Let me even see if I have a chance in God's green earth to complete Bloodborne or Demon's Souls or Elden Ring, of which people have been saying, which one are you getting first? I'm getting Elden Ring first. I'll get Horizon. I'm interested. Horizon looks staggeringly beautiful. It looks wonderful. If you don't know, the embargo on Horizon is Valentine's at 12:01 a.m., which means that's a hell of a gift, right? For your honey on Valentine's Day. It's like, get up early. We'll have strawberries and chocolate and wine, and we'll watch the reviews come in for Horizon Forbidden, or whatever it's called, the new one. I don't know what it's called. These titles are this is terribly, out of all the Sony titles, this is the terrible one, because you launched it with a subtitle. You never launch with a subtitle. It's stupid. You have to establish your brand. Okay, so you've got Horizon Forbidden West is the new one, I think. I don't fucking know. Stupid title. Zero Dawn was the first one. Forbidden West is the new one, and there's some winter bullshit. Anyway, the point is, get up, look at the reviews. But I will be getting Elden Ring first, because I am totally smitten by the From Software bug, and I'm very much looking forward to all the changes they're bringing to the formula. No, CR, your design doc went out. Jaffe, it's been like 2 weeks, no mention of my design doc. It went out. It went out today. I had to get your address, and Jill wasn't here by the time I got your address, so we pushed it a week. Jaffe, have you seen the newest episode of Book of Boba Fett? I'm only through the first episode. I like it. I'm cautious about liking it because everybody tells me Book of Boba Fett's terrible. But so far, the first episode is pretty fucking good. East West 113, hey buddy, he says, Jaffe, with today's investor call, which we will talk about, Sony confirmed multi-platform. Is this the end of traditional gaming? We'll talk about that when we get to it, though. I absolutely thought that was an interesting call and some interesting quotes from our good friend Jimmy the Ryan. Okay. All right. God of War Ragnarok Day 1 this time. Oh, Adam, yes, 100%. Who's my favorite comedian? We'll get to the game news in a second. We're going to start by talking about Dying Light 2, which launches tomorrow? Or midnight tonight, which is tomorrow. It comes, according to what I'm looking at right now, Metacritic, it's 1 day, 6 hours. So I guess you'll be able to play it tomorrow at midnight, correct? But anyway, we'll talk about Dying Light in just a second. But my favorite comedian, I'll tell you the truth. I like a lot of comedians. I do still like Louis C.K. I certainly don't support his behavior. He has apologized for it. It wasn't anything like Harvey Weinstein or Bill Cosby, but it was still very bad. It was still very sexist. It was still very cruel. I struggle with that. But that said, though, well, yeah, Matt DeMarco, Norm Macdonald's fucking hilarious. He was, absolutely. Bill Burr's really, really, really funny. Bo Burnham has some really funny stuff, but Louis C.K. put out a new special recently, and you could watch like 10 minutes of it for free on YouTube before you bought it. And I still haven't bought it because I'm like, do I really want to give this guy ducats? But boy, that first 10 minutes, I don't know if it was deep within the special or the actual start, but the 10 minutes he put up on YouTube was just absolutely just fucking hilarious as fuck, man. It was so fucking good. Oh, yeah. Onion Knight says Louis C.K.'s bit on SNL about pedophilia compared to a chocolate bar is phenomenal. It is. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to learn to forgive, says Monley. Cancel culture is cancer. It can be. It absolutely can be. But it can also be a very important tool to make it clear that some of the behavior a lot of people have been getting away with for, millennia, but certainly, centuries in this country is not acceptable, and you're kind of on watch, right? I think it serves a purpose, but I don't disagree with you that it is a very blunt object for what needs something a little bit more nuanced. SM says, if I asked a woman to engage in sexual activity, she consents, we proceed to do sexual activity. I like how you're doing sexual activity. This is really fun. I like doing the sexual activity. And then she runs and calls for sexual misconduct. I'd be livid. Well, yeah, but that's not what happened with Louis C.K. At least that's my understanding. Gray Fox, hey, buddy, thank you for the super chat. He says, Jaffe, did you see the new game Mina the Hollower? Any shout out to my new ice cream truck, Wally Comb? Well, you have an ice cream truck? Show me that. Send me a picture. I did. If you don't know what he's talking about, Mina the Hollower, Hollower? Mina the Hollower is a Zelda-esque game from the genius folks over at Yacht Club, who made the wonderful, very successful, but it should have been even more successful, Shovel Knight. Okay? And they did a Kickstarter the other day, and that Kickstarter, I think it was today. It made all of its money, which was like they were looking for $380,000, and it's already up to almost $500,000, I think. And they even said, look, we don't need the money to finish it. We're doing the Kickstarter because we want to kind of, we want to bonus shit and push stuff out and make cool shit with it, and we want to kind of create the kind of community that we created around Shovel Knight, right? But there's a great trailer up for it on the Kickstarter. You still got 29 days to go to Kickstarter and say, hey, do you want to, put your money in here? Get some really good things. I'm going to wait, though, because I don't really care about any of that stuff. But it looks great. It looks like a really good 8-bit, like NES-style Zelda, old school Zelda. But what they do that's so brilliant is they still make games for modern times. So Shovel Knight, I adored. It looked like an old game. It felt like an old game if you haven't played it, but it also was very modern in terms of its quality of life changes and things like that. Highly fucking recommend it. Check it out over on their Kickstarter. I'm surprised people are still using Kickstarter, but they're, they got it in a couple hours. Johnny Goats, the men who stare at Johnny Goats. Normally, I'd agree on no subtitle for a title of a game, but what if you called the first God of War Revenge of Kratos, or Totally Ares, Fault My Family is Dead? Well, to be honest with you, there were a number of titles that we were kicking around for God of War. I know marketing really liked this title, At the Hands of the Gods, which I fucking hated. But, we did talk about that. We absolutely talked about subtitles and things, and it was just like, no one knows what this is. So putting a subtitle after your title is very presumptuous, because it makes the assumption that people give a fuck about what comes before. Like the subtitles about it's like, well, you thought you loved Indiana Jones, now he's going into the Temple of Doom, now he's going on the Last Crusade. But if you just sort of just come out and call it, before it was Raiders Lost Ark, you just call it Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, people are like, okay, right? It's not as impactful. It's not as impactful. Eddie Cardwell says, you hate me. I hate you? Why? Why do I hate you? IAO says that the current Kickstarter is currently at $485,000. So yeah, we're a stone's throw away. We'll be well at over $500,000 tomorrow at this time. Aaron says, Jaffe, with the whole Microsoft and Sony thing, to me it seems Microsoft is trying to dominate the gaming industry, sure, whereas Sony wants to dominate entertainment. We'll get to that in a minute. I appreciate the comment, but I think they're both very similar in a large number of ways when it comes to what their recent moves suggest their core motivation is. But we'll get to it. Okay. John Goat says, no, my name is actually pronounced like Getz. What John wants, John gets, except me to pronounce his last name properly. Am I right, John Goats? Okay. Listen to me, fellas. Dying Light 2 Stay Human comes out tomorrow at midnight. A lot of people are excited. I barely played the opening of Dying Light 1, and I kind of disengaged with it. Didn't connect with me. I know a lot of people love it. But what I thought was interesting about it is when Dying Light 1 first came out, when did that thing come out? I'm not sure. It came out like 2015 or 14. It was sitting at around a 76 Metacritic. And then they spent a long time patching bugs, adding things, making it better. And when they put out the Ultimate Edition, that Metacritic, it's really fascinating. You can see it on Metacritic. That Metacritic jumped from the 2014 or 15 launch title at like a 76 up No, a 74 up to an 86. Up to an 80 fucking 6, right? So I bring that up because the reviews today for Dying Light 2 Stay Human are kind of similar, right? Whereas it's sitting right now at a 79. And there are some critics out there that love it and say it's great, but the vast majority of your critics are saying a very similar thing, which is this game, when it's the parkour and the combat and the world they've created, is incredibly cool, is incredibly satisfying. It's an absolute blast, but it also has a handful of things, whether it's bugs or systems, that really drag it down into the upper 70s, which is still, I think, if you're a Dying Light fan, you're going to love it. But for somebody like me, from looking at these reviews, I am going to wait for that updated version. Because again, if you look at Dying Light, I just thought, here you go, look at it. Dying Light PS4 2015, it was a 74. But then when they put the game out a year later on the same system, the enhanced edition, it jumps to an 86. And I'm assuming this is like their game of the year. Yeah, it's the definitive Dying Light experience with the new Legend system, improved visuals, gameplay enhancements, and more. So, you know, when it comes to what is coming down the line this week. Hello, Saltiest Gamer. Always good to see you, good sir. When it comes to what's coming down the line this week, or this month, Dying Light is probably at the back of my queue. For me, it's going to go Elden Ring and then Horizon. Sifu, I'll wait. I usually don't like Sifu. Sometimes if I'm drinking alcohol, I can have like crab cake. But Sifu usually makes me really sick. But I'll wait for the Sifu depending on the ratings. But I'm going to go Elden Ring for sure, then Horizon, then we'll see if I'm down for the Sifu. Rob the Mod says, as a fan, which he is, Rob's the one who turned me on to the first Dying Light. I'm just going to hold out for Game of the Year edition with all the fixed bugs. Right. And then Nomad says, yeah, that's why you don't pre-order games, folks. Nomad, hopefully you'll be here towards the end. We'll spin the wheel for you today. If you don't know, yes, that's the member wheel. You want to join Gabbin' Games? Not a problem, pal. It's a very good service. I don't fucking know if it's good service. I think it is. But I can tell you that if you join, you can spin the wheel, win kind of crazy, good, stupid, awful prizes, but are also great prizes. And we got Pot and Popcorn coming up this Saturday, where only members get in there and we smoke pot and eat popcorn and watch good movies. All right. Bukaki says he's canceling me for that terrible joke. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck, Bukaki. Yes, I do. Don't cancel me. Dying Light has currently 200,000+ Steam reviews and sits at a 95% positive rating. Okay, let me ask you a question. Is it out yet? Is it out in another territory? I know some people have retail copies, and the developers said, hey, there's a patch with over 1,000 bugs coming day one. Please, I know you could play it. We would really prefer you don't play it yet, because it's not the version we're going to be releasing to the rest of the world. So where in the world is it getting its positive rankings from, SM, in terms of user rankings? Franz, hello, Brian King. Good to see you as always. Franz says, hey, Jaffe, love the beard and God of War 1 and 2, your creativity. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Faraz K. I don't know, a cab. When it comes to the year, what are your day one games? I mean, I'm very excited for Elden Ring. But, with Game Pass and stuff, I just, my backlog's huge. Like, for example, Churro says Techland is just like CDPR. I don't know. I mean, Techland sounds like an even worse company. At least CDPR is bad, I guess, because they crunch like a motherfucker and they can't schedule for shit, blah, blah, blah. But Techland sounds like one of the worst video game companies in the business with just how they manage the people. Hello, Leo Halpern. Jaffe, don't get Elden Ring, please. You will be stuck at the beginning, says BB. I'm still going to get it because I love Bloodborne, man. Jaffe, I have a design question for you, CR. Do you think post-apocalyptic settings are favorable for their barren setting? I honestly think, certainly when you go into a production and you say, what do we want to greenlight? What do we want to create? One of the things you take into account, is sort of what can the team do well? And there, you would be wrong if you said that maybe picking an environment that either the team is excited about, like that's why we chose God of War ultimately over another game we were kicking around, or if it's simply more the programmers are like, look, you guys want to run at 30, you want to use all these really cool filters and effects and things, not a problem, but the less we have to draw, the better. And so, although one could easily argue that post-apocalyptic is actually going to be more difficult to make look good because you have a lot of irregularities and you can't do as much modularization when you're picking out your art pieces and things like that. So, but it definitely comes into play. But I think the other thing is there's a heavy lifting aspect of what is already embedded in the zeitgeist of culture. Okay, so I remember it. I always tell this story, but it was such a fascinating and frustrating moment of realization for me, where I was at Comic-Con and I saw these guys. It was like a story and games panel, and this was before God of War, so I was like trying to soak up all the knowledge I could about building one of those games. And on the panel were a couple of guys from LucasArts, and it was funny because their take on how story works in games and how much you need and all this was just so dumb, because it's like they didn't acknowledge the fact that all the heavy lifting, or a huge part of the heavy lifting, had been done by the movies and the books and the comics and, the Christmas special and whatever. And so they didn't have to worry about a game like Horizon or Uncharted or God of War, where you are building the universe and the intellectual property with the characters and all that while you're building the game for the first time. And so post-apocalyptic kind of comes with a built-in audience that already gets and understands and likes that setting. And so you get some of the heavy lifting done for free simply by choosing a setting that is currently sort of in vogue. So that's another reason I would sort of suggest that they're choosing that. Denny Lamav, thank you, pal. Once again, a nice big super chat. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, I no longer care about critics and reviews after meaningless lowballing towards Days Gone. One of the best games ever, only got a 70 on release. That's why I'm getting my own opinion on games. Well, you should always do that. But we are at a better time than ever to be able to form your own opinion, whether it's something like Game Pass or PlayStation Now, or just watching a streamer play it. You're no longer kind of at the mercy of people like that. But, at the same time, I would say your average mainstream critic, to me, your average. Like IGN, to me, probably for every review they give out, I would say 75% of the time, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll buy that. It's very rare that I see a review that I'm like, whoa, what the fuck are you talking about? The last one I remember is honestly Fast and the Furious Crossroads, which I thought was just a fucking delightful grindhouse B-movie romp of a fucking game. And the critics just shat all over it, after they had eaten bad chicken, and it was coming out both ends. Fast and the Furious Crossroads. I think this is like a 35. I mean, this game was so good to me that I actually, and I never buy games. That's somewhere down there. I actually went out and got the physical copy of it. So, your mileage will vary, but I absolutely hear you. I'm going to say this. Jaffe's going to hate Sifu. Absolver isn't a game for Jaffe. At least Sifu's more directed, but the engine for combat still seems more punishing than FromSoft. Yeah, well, Sifu's absolutely a game that I will wait and kind of go, what are the tea leaves saying? Yes, Leo Halperin, let me get to one of the big stories coming up first, and right when that big story is, Leo has won 2 minutes on the mic from spinning the wheel last week, and we will give him his due. It'll be probably in about 20 minutes from now, Leo, if you can get your stuff ready to go. Just don't fuck up terms of service, sir. All right, let's move forward with the news. It's a little. Let me get some small news out of the way real quick. This is, hang on. I'm going to turn off my mic while I drink, because someone says, Jaffe, it's so fuck you. No, I'm going to do it. Because I told him, I says, I know it's gross, but what am I going to do? Not drink? Come on now. Listen to this. Oh, we'll talk about GT as well. Yeah, so just so you know, Uncharted is probably coming to Fortnite. This is no surprise. Spider-Man came to Fortnite. Kratos came to Fortnite. The hint is someone was kind of digging around in the code or something like that. I don't know how he found it, but it's not announced yet. And apparently it's collect treasure using an Uncharted. Uncharted's capitalized. It is a proper noun, an Uncharted treasure map. And the Uncharted movie releases the next day. So the day after this drops on Fortnite, you've got the movie hitting. So this is probably going to happen, which is like great. I mean, I don't play Fortnite anymore. I might play it eventually. Somebody was telling me, because we've been looking for things to play on game night, and it's always a struggle to find what people have, and it's crossplay. And somebody said that the creative space in Fortnite, which I've only fucked around in ages ago, is filled with like user-made games, almost like Roblox, but in the Fortnite style, that you can play all kinds of shit. So I'll probably get back for that. Jaffe, I hope Diggler shows off his pecs in the new movie. I can't imagine he won't. Isn't that kind of his shtick? Henry says Fortnite takes place in the same universe as Star Wars. Well, I know that's not true because the way the lore works out, aka story, is that they're just wearing costumes, but they're still Fortnite players. What I will tell you, though, is Star Wars does take place in our universe. Think about that. I'd love to see a Star Wars set in the future. I mean, you would still be in canon if you had a movie that played as real as Martin Scorsese's film, and suddenly De Niro goes out of a bar one afternoon and he looks up and there's like a ruined, crumpled, rusty Star Destroyer above planet Earth that's crashing down to planet Earth, and like, what the fuck? That would work in Star Wars canon, believe it or not, because they literally, from the very first thing we ever heard about Star Wars was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, which means it's happening. It's not saying in a magical land or anything like that. It's a long time ago in a fucking galaxy far, far away. Okay. Bro, what about the Palpatine reveal in Fortnite? I have no idea what you're talking about. That's how little I fucking play. Jaffe probably has a kidney stone the size of a meteor in Armageddon starring Owen Wilson. I know a lot of people like to kind of slam on me for drinking Diet Cokes. Dude, I don't. I'm overweight. That's not because of the Diet Cokes. And trust me, man, it's not like I'm drinking the Diet Cokes going, I'm going to diet. It's addictive. It's the aspartame. I know it's not good for you, but no, it's there's no kidney stones that I've ever had, and I'm 50. You never know, though. Okay, have I played Cyber Shadow, D-Trucks? I did. I did not like it. A little too hard for me. Okay. Aliens and Blade Runner share the same universe? That's interesting. I did not know that. Dune takes place in Star Wars, says Uncle Filthy. I know back when Jedi first was in theaters, I remember saying, did they just call where Jabba's barge is the Dune Sea, out beyond the Dune Sea? And I was always just kind of like the book Dune. I mean, I know there are things called Dune, but Jaffe, I drink 2 Pepsis almost every day. I feel you. A cab says you don't want to be on a dialysis machine. No, I don't. But what does that have to do with my kidneys? All right, let's move on. So a lot of people have been playing this. I've been playing this. My kids have been playing this. Believe it or not, my ex, when she comes over, we're watching a TV series right now as the family. When she comes over, she plays it. She never plays video games, okay? But Wordle, if you've played it, it's awesome, as you know. If you haven't, seek it out, even if you don't get the normal one, the actual one, which is on the internet. But the guy who made it was not really making any money off of it, I guess. I don't know if he was just aw-shucksing it. I didn't make it for money. I made it for my wife, and it was a ploy, or if it was real. But the news came out late yesterday afternoon that he has just taken a 7-figure sum. Low 7 figures. 2 million, 4 million, 1.1, who the fuck knows. But he's a millionaire now. He sold this game that he probably hacked up in a weekend, and this is not the first game to ever do what he's doing, but he's the one that kind of got lightning in a bottle, and now he's a millionaire because he has sold it to the New York Times. And the New York Times has their crossword, and they're trying to put a lot of things behind the paywall. They say right now it will be free for everyone to play. Whether or not they move it behind their paywall, like the crossword puzzles and stuff, we'll have to fucking see. Lord Garth says Wordle sucks. I just don't know why you would say such nonsense. It's a really fun game. It's a really fucking fun game. I don't understand what sucks about it. I mean, it may not be for you, but it's certainly good. Uncharted director, which is like Ruben Fleischer or something, says most video game movies go wrong by trying to recreate the game. Well, let's wait and see what his reviews are, because I have a feeling his movie's not going to go all that right either, simply based on what we've seen. I've played Loodle. Loodle is the same thing as Wordle, but it's got, there's all these. There's one about hobbits. It's just Hobbit and Lord of the Rings lore words. There's one that's like swear words, blah, blah, blah. It's only a random letter guesser if you don't care about doing well. I mean, what's fascinating about Wordle is, everybody picks roughly the same 20 words for word number one. You try to pick the word that has the most common letters, right? So we use farts, or we use smear, or there's like 4 or 5 words we use a lot. And then it'll tell you, it's almost like a cross between Mastermind, that old Mastermind game, and Wheel of Fortune or Hangman. It'll tell you, like if you're looking at your screen, if you get yourself a green letter, that's in the right place. If you get yourself a yellow letter, that letter's in the word, but it's not in the right place. And so what's really interesting is on the rare occasions you can get it on the second one, it's not, you only get 6 chances, and it just tells you. It's not because you just guessed and got lucky a lot of times. Sometimes it is. But more often than not, it's because if you get one word and then the second word, you can guess it on the one word, you can guess it on the second word via deduction. It's fascinating. It's like, because it's not like you got lucky. It's like you're like, okay, well, the only word that can go here is here, and this letter has to go here, and you really feel yourself building the case for the word in your mind, and when you put it in and you get the green, you feel great. It's a great game. Anyway, guy's a millionaire now. Speaking of stupid businesses, I'm kidding. I think it's great, but honestly, I do want to talk about this very briefly. We're not going to get into NFTs and cryptocurrency and all that shit. We've talked it to death. It's stupid. In my opinion, your mileage will vary. Of course it will. It's shit. Bad words in Wordle? I don't think so, Cap. It's Wheel of Fortune realism meets Mastermind is the best way to describe it. But this is interesting to me because I'll give you the news first and I'll tell you why it matters. So Team 17, they make worms and shit like that. They had announced that they were going to do worms NFTs. And the developer didn't know anything about it. They had some external developers, like the team that made Going Under, which is, I didn't love it, but a lot of people like that indie game. And they're like, fuck it, we're not working with Team 17 until they drop this bullshit. This is crazy. And they got so much hate and so much pushback that here's the news. Here's written in Game Industry Biz. Team 17 is not the only Team 17 is canceling the MetaWorms NFT project it announced yesterday. So with Ubisoft, when they announced their whole thing, not Ubisoft, Stalker, I think Stalker 2 or 3 or whatever it was like you had a week and they pulled it. This is less than a day, and they're like, okay, we're backing out, right? EA, if you remember, was one of the companies that put some heat on this. Yeah, Troy Baker backed out Nomad as well. EA that put some heat on this when they said, their CEO said, he says, we know, he was talking a couple of months ago, Wilson, Andrew Wilson. He was saying NFTs will become an important part of EA's future and wider game business. This was his quote right here. What we know about collection over time is the collectability is far more valuable to the collector where the collected item has utility. And I think in the context of games that we create and the live services we offer, collectible digital content is going to play a meaningful part in our future. But then he walked it back today when they did their earnings call. He said, or yesterday, no, it's a post-earnings conference call. This was, I think it was today. The executive at EA said it is not driving hard on NFT projects now. So they're backpedaling too. He says, I believe collectability will continue to be an important part of our industry in the games. Whether that is part of NFTs or the blockchain, that remains to be seen. And I think the way we think about it is we want to deliver the best possible player experience we can. So we'll evaluate over time. But right now, NFTs is not something we're driving hard on. So all these companies are walking back. Now, on one hand, it's nice because it makes you go, oh, the consumer has power, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the consumer has power when they buy, but nobody would have gotten hit financially yet on this. But the real interesting part about this is it's more fuel on the fire that no one really knows what these are. If you follow this stream, I was kind of in the weeds for about a week going, someone explain this shit to me, and nobody ever could. I have a good friend who's launching an NFT company. I talked to her. I said, can you explain this to me? She couldn't explain it to me, right? And she's one of the smartest people I know. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So either you're in bed with it because you genuinely understand something that few of us don't. You're in bed with it because you know it's fucking schemy and gambling and all that shit, and you hope the government won't regulate it. Or you're in bed with it because you're a moron and you've been sold this bill of goods by someone else who's been able to sell you a cheap bill of goods, right? Now, maybe this has to do with Joe Biden coming out the other day and saying he's going to do an executive order that's going to basically not crack down, but explore what kind of regulations need to be put on cryptocurrencies, including NFT things and things like that. And maybe these companies have realized, oh shit, the gambling we were hoping to make a shit ton on, we can't do anymore. I don't know what it is, but something has made them walk back very quickly, something they were literally bullish on, not literally, but they were metaphorically bullish on only a couple of weeks ago. Think about that. Think about how just weak that argument was, how soft the argument was to get into NFTs. They literally, the minute, it's like a paper tiger or a glass jaw. It's like the minute somebody punched back and said, I don't want it, okay, yeah, no problem, we'll get rid of it. That's how, it's more fuel to the fire that nobody knows what in the fuck is going on with these goddamn things. Let me explain something to you. You're excited, I'm excited when you like to be excited too. We're all excited, or a lot of us are excited for Elden Ring, which is coming out, was it next week or the week after? February 25th. That's a couple weeks away. 23 days away. A little over 3 weeks. Thank you for coming. That's the math. Now, this is interesting. Now, I don't really give a fuck. People will tell you, because I've had so many people talk to me about, Jaffe, can I come in and play Bloodborne with you? And I'm not like antisocial or anything. I like playing co-op games with people on the stream, but I want to I want to get good enough at it on my own without, even like I summoned by accident an NPC character in Bloodborne and I got rid of him. Because I want to be focused. I want to know what I'm trying to figure out here, and I want to read the moves of the enemies and all that. So I don't really care right now about the multiplayer of Elden Ring, but this news came out. It's kind of on the being piggybacked on the back of this news. This news came out a couple of weeks ago, or no, last week it actually was. It was the player servers of Dark Souls Remastered, Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 were turned off, and it was because during a live stream of the game, it was shown that that game can allow someone to hack into the computer of the person playing the game, and the remote person, the hacker, literally took over the guy's computer while he was doing a live stream. That, even though this had been reported for a while, was enough to get Bandai to go, okay, we need to basically solve this. As of Sunday, they haven't released a statement. They haven't solved it yet, okay? So that's kind of the land we're in when we get to this next news story, which is right here, which is Elden Ring release day may be a, quote, hellscape, according to Dark Souls 3 security monitor. I'm just going to read you a little bit of this. I don't like you coming to this stream and I just reading you shit, but this is, they articulate it a hell of a lot better. Connor Sheridan over at GamesRadar articulated this better than I could. Elden Ring is just weeks away, he writes, and security-minded Soulsborne fans fear it will inherit many of the same security vulnerabilities of past titles. One such community member, Luke Gui, spoke to Video Games VC, I don't know who the fuck they are, about the experience he already had with Elden Ring, because he got on the net code and he looked in the net code for the beta that came out. He says, I had a chance to see the code from the closed network test, and I can already tell you, this is his quote, this is the hacker's quote, that there are a lot of he's not a hacker, but that there are a lot of crashes and vulnerabilities in Elden Ring's net code, the exact same ones in Dark Souls 3 actually. So I suspect it's going to take 5 minutes for cheaters from Dark Souls 3 to port their scripts to Elden Ring and make release day a hellscape. We'll see if they fix it. We'll see if they fix it. I mean, you guys would have to tell me, because I don't play that often with the online on. So I'm curious, what kind of mods do they put in there to fuck with people? I know that they can invade your world, but that's part of the game design. But what do the hackers do that's outside of the game design that ruin the game? It only affects PCs, says Raphael. Okay, well, that's good to know. A lot of people will be playing it on PC for sure, because you do want the mods. Hackers in gaming have gotten out of control. They really have. Zaf says, I'm keeping it offline until it gets fixed. FBI should crack down on hackers like they do for China and Russia hackers, says Legends. Well, look, here's what I'll say. Hackers gotten out of control. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be solved via tech. It wouldn't surprise me if in the next 5 years we see an online game that gets released where you really have to do some kind of proof of, who you are, what your name is, what your ISP is, all this shit that you have to share in order to get online services. Because otherwise you're putting a product out that people will fuck with it if they can. Is it crossplay? That's a good question. I don't know, Lord Garth. Yeah, I played Bloodborne entirely almost online, says Johnny D. I was never invaded. I haven't been yet either, but, maybe it's not being played all that much. So you're saying that people could come in and give you an item, Ryan King, that breaks your game. Like, here, I found this cool fucking crystal. Equip it to your sword. And you equip it to your sword and it fucks everything up. Yeah, I will link the article, Rotten. Here you go right here. Can you link? Yeah, I just did it. No, yeah, I'm doing it right now. I think I'm linking too. I don't know why this is so long, but there you go. It's not crossplay. Gotcha. Bring back land. That's what I want, says Chris. Yeah, but most people aren't set up for that. A Cobb says, I don't know who I am. What do I do? First of all, you center. You get comfortable with the idea that you don't know who you are. You allow yourself to be in that headspace and don't freak out about it. You congratulate yourself on being a deep enough thinker that you're having an existential crisis. A lot of people go through their lives like NPCs in a video game. They don't think about their lives and the world deep enough to ever have an existential crisis. So if you're wandering around going, I don't know who I am, congratulate yourself, allow yourself to be okay with it, let yourself know you'll get out of it. And maybe you need therapy. Maybe you need to read some books. The first time I had that in my life, I discovered a book called When Things Fall Apart by the secular Buddhist Pema Chodron, who is one of the head monks at a place called Gampo Abbey in Nova Scotia. And it absolutely changed my life. One could even say saved my life. I highly recommend that book. Okay. So WZ, Zaf, what was WZ? Warzone? Was so infested with hackers that they had to hire a private company to fix it, and there are still hackers. There's a video of a guy in a chopper getting rammed to by a flying car. Yeah, I mean, it's these companies that want to make online games like Sony's doing, like getting into serious, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Yeah, this shit's got to get fixed because it's like going to Disneyland and them letting in people that are just like shitting all over the ground and stuff, and it's like you're gonna push people away. I will be playing it, Andreas, probably on PlayStation 4 because of the DualSense, and there's no it's not crossplay, and I think most people I know on the stream that I will crossplay it with have the PS4, PS5. I hope the PS4, PS5 is at least cross-gen. We'll see. Anyway, there you go. That's the story on Elden Ring. Let me tell you about this story. This is pretty interesting. This is weird, but interesting. And I like it, but I'm curious about it. Hang on. Let me take some bubbly. Okay, as a reminder, if you want to call in, by the way, I forgot to tell you at the top of the show, the Discord is open. I'll bring you onto the show when the time is right. Okay. And in just a second, after this story, we're gonna talk soon about right before we get to Gran Turismo, which is our one of our first meaty stories of the day. I'm gonna bring on. I'm gonna open the mic up. For 2 minutes. For I forget your name. I'm so sorry. It was like Lee. It has an L and an M in your name. I know that. I'll open up the mic for you to have your 2 minutes. Say whatever the fuck you want, and we'll go from there. But anyway, Supermassive, who you will know from their brilliant game they made with Sony, Dead by, what was their game called? Until Dawn. Great fucking game. And then they did a great fucking game, Leo Halprin. Thank you, sir. I apologize. And then they did a great game for PSVR, which was like an on-rail horror shooter. I forget what it was called. It was great. And then they go off into the world and they say, well, we're going to do this without Sony's help. We're going to get a bunch of ducats, and we're going to create the Dark Pictures Anthology. And basically every 8, 9, 10 months, they've been releasing a new horror-based adventure game, which sounds great. it sounds fucking great. But none of the games have been that good. Man of Medan I thought was horrible. The first one, I'm trying to remember what it was called. Little Hope, maybe. Then they just put out House of Ashes, which I heard was good. But it's surprising to me that this is successful enough that they are able to continue. But lo and behold, today, there's a new trademark filed by this company, Supermassive, and they have 5 new. And just because there's a trademark doesn't mean that, you know, it's going to get made. But they're planning on 5 more. Zero Signal says Until Dawn was a fluke. I don't know if it was a fluke or if it was the case of a really good developer partnered with a really good publisher like Sony. I don't know if this is the case of, look, it's an easy thing to argue that my biggest successes in video games came when I had Sony, meaning Alan Becker basically, and Shannon Studstill overseeing the whole thing, because they could sort of support my best angels, my better angels, as they say, but they could also recognize when I was going so far off field that somebody needs to have a conversation with me. But when you get to like Bartlett Jones and everybody lets you do what the fuck you want, is probably was definitely the least successful thing I made. So who knows why Until Dawn didn't work? Worked, but there are other games other than the shooter have not. Diego says House of Ashes was a blast with friends. I have heard that House of Ashes is the best game in the Dark Pictures anthology. So I do plan on giving it a play. But here's what I'll tell you. One is called Directive 8020. Here are the new games. Directive 8020, The Craven Man, Intercession, Winterfold, and Oh Death. And these are what if you're looking at your screen, these are what they look like. Maybe you'll get a hint as to what they're about. Maybe you won't. Who the fuck knows? But there you go. The Dark Pictures anthology has 5 new games they're hoping to make. Somebody's let me see. Bacon says, I can't wait for Rob the Mod's game to release on Steam just so I can play it and refund it at the 2-hour mark. Let me tell you something. Rob the Mod just put something in the chat that I saw that makes me a little nervous for you, Rob the Mod. Rob the Mod says, hey, I'm converting my game from Unity to Unreal 5. Your mileage may vary. Everybody's different. Everybody's reasons for doing it are different. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I think the best thing you could do is finish at this point. Put it out. Maybe you do an upgraded version on a new engine. But that's what killed Romero. That's what kills a lot of teams. They see the sexy new engine and they take all the work they've done. And then they get kind of stuck in this sort of quagmire where they never release, or they have to release and it's not very good. Because they spent, you know, and again, you're on your own schedule, and maybe it's really easy. Oh, Rob is saying not him. His company that he works for, where he's also a games programmer, went from Unity to Unreal. Oh, then fuck them. They're idiots. Good for you, though. Good for you, though. Good, Rob. Good, Rob. What do you know, Jaffe? You're not a game dev. I'll tell you what, man. I did my time in the jungles of game development. How about you, pal? No game fan thinks they own any IP unless they own shares. Okay, we'll get to that. My Ruin says they originally announced Dark Pictures as an 8-game series. Cool. Well, it looks like they're going to get what they wanted. All right, Brandon. Brandon says, I'm going to head to bed. I have 3 tests tomorrow. Thanks for the great show. Hope you have a great night, Jaffe. Good night. Good luck on your tests, sir. Let us know how you do. Okay. We're going to move on, though. We're going to move on. I just want to give you a heads up. This is not any news to talk about. I just, you know, I wasn't aware of this. I guess they did it. Oh, this was terrible, by the way. I'm going to put up a video about the New York Game Awards. We only watched it for about 30 minutes, and it was terrible. Probably one of the worst live events ever. Certainly the worst award show ever. It was so goddamn bad. The next Dark Pictures is based on the H.H. Holmes Murder Hotel. That's where he basically built a hotel with all these traps and secrets, like in real life. And he did it so he could murder people and hide their bodies and get away with it. Oh, that's fucking great. That's fucking great. What's the name of that one? That's a great idea to work to make a game. That's not the username Brandon. Brandon's not the one going to bed with the test. Hang on. Yeah, it is Brandon Martin. Okay. Nine Lives asked me a little bit later about Whoopi Goldberg. I want to stay on games for the moment. I just want to let you know this. IGN Fan Fest, I didn't know what this was. I guess it's kind of like Comic-Con at home. Not as big, of course, but it's a bunch of panels and new trailers and whatnot. It says, our special celebration of TV, movies, games, and comics once again features loads of special interviews and other content. On top of exciting discussions with the stars of film and gaming, you can expect exclusive clips, announcements, and lots more. The event kicks off February 19th. They have not released their schedule yet, but you'll have new news and panels from things like Halo, the TV series, Attack on Titan Final Season Part 2, Raised by Wolves Season 2, movies like Sonic 2, Spider-Man No Way Home, the new Constantine House of Mystery movie, and then a bunch of games like WWE 2K22, which I want to see, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge remake, which I want to see, and Lego Star Wars, which I want to see. So keep it on your radar. We'll probably be talking about the stories that break at the IGN Fan Fest coming up. I just wanted to bring it up to you because it wasn't until my brain finally caught up with the ads that I was like, the fuck is this? This is kind of cool. I've never watched it. Cab says, let's see what they'll do at the event. Yeah, it may be shit. I have no idea. Okay. News came out today that this game, which I am terribly excited for, Ghostwire Tokyo, is going to be releasing on March 25th. So we're a little bit over a month from Mikami's potential. And I don't even know if he directed this one, though. I know it's his studio, Tango Gameworks, but this was the same game that real cute Asian lady came out on stage and everybody fell in love with her at E3. She was on it, and then she left. I thought she was the creative director, so I don't know whose this is, but if you watch the trailer, and I'll just put it up while we're talking, it looks really fucking neat. It's a PlayStation exclusive. Obviously, it will ultimately end up being, if it's successful, it will be a Microsoft franchise, given that this is a company that they acquired when they acquired Bethesda earlier, well, a little bit last year. I don't know what the game is so much. Tomorrow, I will be live streaming. There's a visual showcase of this game on PlayStation.com. And from the minute I saw it, it looked fucking cool. But I don't really understand what this is. Like, they haven't really shown all that much, other than just some of this moment-to-moment kind of like sorcery, magic spell meets horror combat, really. And is it more Devil May Cry? Or is it more like Evil Within, like it's an adventure that has some combat, or is it just, room after room of crazy acrobatic horror wizardry? Who the fuck knows? Maybe we'll find out some more tomorrow. It is a little weird that you've got a game coming out in almost less than a month, and we still know so little about it. But to be perfectly fair, we kind of had the same situation with Deathloop, where they kept showing it, but nobody was really sure what it is. Legend says it looks like a first-person magic horror Skyrim. Maybe. That sounds pretty great. Zaf says, I have a feeling this game, Tokyo, might end up being a 7. Maybe the showcase tomorrow will show some mind-blowing stuff. I think creatively they have, but I don't know about gameplay yet. What I will tell you about trailers, the trailer they showed, it's got a weird fucking name. The trailer they showed recently from the guys who split off from Sony Japan Studios, who worked on some Silent Hills and Gravity Rush and all that. That thing is fucking bizarre. I thought the monster design in Bloodborne was off the fucking charts. That shit is weird, and it's got a weird fucking name, too. Jeff C. says, I thought this game, Ghostwire Tokyo, is survival horror. That'd be great. I just don't know. Eternal says, I guess it's got horror elements to it, but it's not survival horror as far as I can see. It's very Japanese, too. Yeah, Bacon's got a good point, believe it or not. He says, we also had the same situation with Returnal and Death Stranding. We didn't really know what the game was until it got close to release. I wonder how much of that is, Slitterhead, that's right, Zero. I wonder how much of that, Bacon, is intentional. Like, is that Sony's new marketing thing for a lot of these games? Do they think that this is actually good for bringing people in? Or is it just, I don't know, because you're absolutely right. I was like, what the fuck is Death Stranding? What the fuck is Returnal? It's like they didn't want to tell you what the game was. And so it made you feel, like, is something wrong? But maybe that's just an old way of thinking. And the more they release stuff that's good, like Returnal, I didn't love Deathloop, not my kind of game, but people adored it. Maybe we'll start to get conditioned differently. Did Jaffe just call you a slitterhead? Isn't that the name of it? That's the name of the game being made by the ex-Sony folks, which I think is a Sony exclusive. Yeah, slitterhead. Does that mean anything? I don't know what it means. Why shouldn't we buy the game, says Morgan. Well, this game on your TV? On your monitor? Well, why? Because you don't know what it is yet. Don't you want to wait and see what it is? Really? Michael says some people are refusing to buy it because Tango is owned by Xbox. The only reason I would refuse to buy it is if it gets just okay reviews and I'm kind of interested and I know it's coming to Game Pass eventually, then I would wait. But not for any kind of protest or anything. It sounds like a slur. Darth Nugget says it is a slur. I've never heard of it until I heard the name of the game. So if it is a slur, I apologize. But Colin says it sounds like one. Doug says, no, Darth, that's zipper. And then you say HEAD. But I don't even know what that slur is. A really old slur, it started with zipper. Like Zipper Entertainment? Imagine being such a fanboy you won't buy a game because the developer is linked to another company. Yeah, I know. I agree. If it's a great game, it's a great game. Buy it or don't. But is Ghostwire a timed exclusive, says Boneless? I believe so, yes. Just like we're about to see, or sooner than later, we'll see Deathloop on Game Pass. And I think it's like less than a year away. The game seems like my kind of vibe, says Kyle's on fire. I'm definitely buying day one unless it gets absolutely terrible reviews. Right. You got kicked out of class in 2004 for calling the teacher a slitterhead. What does it mean? What's bad about it? But what does this mean? LOL zipper with a hard R. Okay, so Slitherhead is a racist name for Chinese people. Or is the zipper one a racist towards... I don't know. It doesn't matter. I certainly won't say it. If it's offensive, I didn't know that. By the way, one last thing before we get to our open mic. Everybody's talking about the Sony acquisition of Bungie, and of course they should. But did you also know this week there was another acquisition Sony made of a game company? Aniplex, which is a subsidiary of Sony Music, or a part of Sony Music, has acquired a company called Lassingle. I think that's how you say it. Now, if you don't know them, don't worry. I didn't know them either. You probably need to be in the mobile market, especially in the mobile market, playing a lot of Genshin Impact style games. They make a game that has made $5 billion since it was released just a handful of years ago. Fate Grand Order. Okay, this is what it is right here. Sony is also going hard on getting their mobile shit up. A lot of people talked about maybe they need to buy Take-Two. It's not just Take-Two. It's not just GTA. It comes with Zynga. But fuck, I didn't realize Sony had this level of a developer they're working with that was making this kind of ducats. $5 billion already in just a couple of years. So why do all the games look the same, says Churro? Because I guess they sell. And because they're free at first, and so it doesn't really matter. They're cool, they're interesting, they fit. Just like Fortnite over here. No one's going to complain about it because they're not really selling them to people, at least at first, that are really into art and the art of games. They're just, they're trying to get more casual players, I assume. Anime mobile game, says Jack K. I heard good things about the anime, though. Isn't Jaffe ex Asian and his kids are half Asian? He just throws Asian slurs out there. My ex is Eurasian, and my children are a quarter Asian. But if you say the word slitherhead is a, let's put it this way. If slitherhead is actually a I don't believe you. Let's put it that way. There is no slitherhead. There is no derogatory term that is slitherhead. And I say that because Sony is making a game called Slitherhead. So that would be like them making a game called, FAG or the N-word. You think Sony's not aware of a fucking name? Yeah, Nomad says it's not a slur. I Googled it. Fuck you all. That's good. Eddie says, say Slitterhead 3 times in the mirror and Jim Ryan shows up. Oh, man. I just have him on the... She's like, Jaffe, I can't keep being on your show. I said Slitherhead. You have to show up for it. All right. Here's what we're doing. I'm going to bring in Leo Halpern. Now, he won spinning the wheel last week, and he gets 2 minutes. I'm going to set Siri. I'm going to eat a fortune cookie, and he's going to have 2 minutes to basically say whatever the fuck he wants. I, of course, will remove him. I don't think we need to. He seems like a salt-of-the-earth fella, but just in case, I got my finger on the disconnect button. And then we'll talk about Gran Turismo. Leo, it's Jaffe. Are you there? Leo Halpern, where have you gone? Yeah, he's got 2 minutes to say zipper.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
Oh, hey, man. How are you? I'm doing well. What's going on? Are you ready?
Hi, Jeff. How are you? Are you listening to me?
I'm talking to you. Can you hear me?
Hey, Jeff.
Yes. Can you hear me? Are you listening to you on the computer?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, there's a delay. You need to listen to me on Discord, not the stream.
Yeah, I have a big delay here. I don't know why.
Because you're listening on the stream, I think, correct?
Okay. Are you listening to me right now?
Yes. Are you on the Discord now? Hello? Come on now. In the meantime, while we're waiting for him to get set up, what if he does a monologue from The Departed? That'd be great. That'd be great. Jaffe's more Asian now. He's eating a fortune cookie. Oh, you son of a bitch.
Hey, dude.
Oh, yes. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. No worries.
Can you hear me right now?
I can hear you great. There was a delay when you listened to it on the thing. Okay. So, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. My phone is dead. So, Rob the Mod, are you there? Would you mind... timing him when I say go? We're going to give him 2 minutes. I can probably find a timer on my computer. Hang on. Because my phone is dead. Stopwatch. All right, here we go. Let me put it up on the screen so we can all see it in its glory. Okay, when I say go, are you ready to go? You got 2 minutes to tell the world what you want to tell the world. You ready, man?
I'm ready.
And go.
Well, hello, world. What an honor to talk to Dave Jeff, the guy who created God of War. I don't know what to say. I'm just very excited to be part of this show, and I honestly think like you are very important for PlayStation exclusive games because I don't know if you're gonna agree with me, but I think in PS2 there's not so many Sony exclusive games on PlayStation 2. And like God of War was like, yeah, we have a big exclusive game. And of course, like right now, Sony give a lot of importance for exclusive games by new studios. And I think kind of say Sony because like the PS3 era was not that good, but with the exclusives was so important for them. So I'm just very happy to talk to you. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, ad lib, baby. You got to make it work. Go.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to create a good character in the game, you can invite me. I would love to work in a game industry or anything like that. Yeah, I am not American. You probably noticed my accent. But yeah, invite me. I would love to move to America and work on a game. would be great. Would be great. Like having here in your show and see all you have to say is fantastic. Really fantastic. So
30 seconds. Bring that shit home, baby. Come on, bring it home.
and Sony buy a Rockstar game because I want to play a good GTA every year, not every 10 years. And make Bully 2, and I don't know if you have any Sony friends, but asking them to buy a Rockstar games and take 2. And that's it.
Good job, buddy. I appreciate it, Leo. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for being a member here on Gabbin' and Games, bud. I appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you.
All right, buddy. There he goes. There he goes. You too can get 2 minutes on the mic if you spin the wheel by joining. Not everybody has an idea about how we should shape the world, Jaffe says CR. Maybe not. I don't even think that's true. I think not everybody feels their ideas are worth sharing. But everybody's got an idea of what they want. Come on now. Fuck you, John Flatter. You're going straight to hell. All right, let's get to Gran Turismo. So you may know this. Gran Turismo comes out today, and I'm going to let this play in the background without audio. Sans audio, as the kids say, while we're talking. And I just want to get some thoughts. I want to give you some of my thoughts. I didn't stream it because I'm not a really big fan of this franchise. Not because I don't respect the amazing achievements and what it's done and how much it's sold and all those great things. But it's just too simulation for me, right? I tend to like arcade racers, or the most simi I'll go is something like Forza Horizon, which is simmy, but not that fucking simmy. Okay. So I look at this, and I haven't watched the whole thing in detail, but I've scanned through it and watched about maybe on and off about 10 minutes of it. It's like a 30-minute or 28-minute kind of thing. And I guess the question becomes, what are the overall thoughts? Let me give you my absolute layperson's knee-jerk response, and I want you to tell me if you're like, yep, Jaffe, that's spot on, or it's like, dude, no, this thing is not that. Okay, so I look at this, I'm not blown away by the visuals, and I always thought that was the thing, right? The visuals, you'd be blown fucking away by the visuals. The visuals are fine, but they don't wow me in the same way that when I saw Forza, that wowed me, driving through Mexico, right? That I thought was a lot more, oh my God, that's fascinatingly cool, right? The other part that bothers me about this game, or doesn't interest me about this game, is it feels very, if you watch it, you see, like, I mean, obviously it's so simmy and so specific and so in love with cars and so hardcore. Like, there's like a museum you can go to. I'll show you this real quick. There's like I don't even know if you get to drive all the cars in the museum, but you can go to a museum, and they take you through like the history of Ford and the history of Mitsubishi and just all of this crazy shit that it's like, okay, but what's the game, right? The game is obviously racing. It's obviously a great sim, blah, blah, blah. But it just feels very, very serious. It doesn't feel fun. It feels like you have to already be a member of this club to give a fuck about it. And then the last thing I'll say is it has this kind of sniffing it. Here's the museum, by the way. It's like, listen to this guy talk. He's just like, and I'll get to the chat. I know you guys have thoughts, but I just want to share mine, then I'll see how close I am to you guys. So, like, it's got the museum, and it's like,
Not only are there showrooms for,
you know, here's when this car was invented, and this is how this brand became popular. And then you've got all of this sort of lifestyles of the rich and famous porn, like going up the escalator. It's so about the presentation and the opulence and the big money kind of thing that it feels like you go. It's like when you were a kid and you went to your friend's house, but you couldn't touch anything because the parents were like, "Oh, you'll spill. We just had the carpet done. We just bought that statue. Don't play. Don't run in the house." It just doesn't feel fun. It feels like it's got a stick up its ass, right? And then you compare it to Forza, which my guess would be is these guys are not near the level of simulation of Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo. And they're also not near maybe even the graphic fidelity when it comes to the individual vehicles. But and again, just because I like it doesn't mean the other one's not good. This is just more, I guess, where I live and breathe. This looks fun to me. And lo and behold, it was fun. There's nothing about what I watched on that Gran Turismo State of Play that made me feel this is exciting. And so Christian says Gran Turismo feels similar to Flight Sim. You have to really be into it to enjoy it long term. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Vivi says this feels like one of those house tours of billionaire houses on YouTube. It really does. But what's interesting about your Flight Sim comment is that then it begs for me the question. Let's assume for the moment you're right. And like Brian King says, it's different. Forza's an arcade game, GT's a sim. And I assume what you would say is Forza without Horizon is not arcadey. Is it as simmy as Gran Turismo? I only ask because, like, from a business standpoint, do you think this still matters? Right? Do you think this still moves the needle? Not this game. This is Forza. Let me go back to Gran Turismo. Like, because here's what I'm really wondering. Forza is in effect free. It's Game Pass. I know, but you know what I'm saying. It's in effect, it's psychologically free. Let's call it that, okay? It's psychologically free. This is going to cost you $70, and it's probably going to cost you more if you decide to download different cars, and I don't know how their monetary system works, okay? But do you think that this, especially when you go, oh, I can get Forza for free, do you think this still has a place, as a premier Sony title? Or if you are Jim Ryan, do you go to, I forget what his name is, the guy who's done all these games, loves his cars, all that stuff. Do you go to him and say, look, man, we can't do this anymore. It costs a lot of money. The licenses are expensive. You have got to make it. And the guy's made arcade games before. It's not like he can't make them. But, would you go to them and say, we need to desimulate this, or at least put out the simulation maybe every generation and that's it? Because this is not going to move the needle for us. I get still that Forza has two branches, Horizon and Motorsport. But even Brian is saying that Motorsport is not as simmy as Gran Turismo. For retail price, it will have a ton of content up front, says Adam, unlike Halo. Well, yeah, but we're not comparing it to Halo, though, right? We're comparing it to Forza. I don't think anybody's going to compare this to Halo. Legend says you can't compare Forza to Gran Turismo. Why not? Everybody else will. I understand that they're different games, but everybody else is going to look at this and go, oh, well, the racing car game on Xbox is free. GT screams of a franchise run by an auteur, says Doug, with million workers who won't question his vision. It does. It feels like that to me. Sony should have kept Evolution and made Forza Horizon. Okay, whether they make Forza Horizon or not, their own version. The thing I'm more curious about is, do you think that this is going to do really well, or do you think it's had its place in the sun? It's too simmy for the money games cost today. I think that's a good point. Welcome to Wherever You Are says the graphics on Gran Turismo, the new one on PS5, put you in an awkward place. It looks good, I agree, but at the same time, it looks really dull. I don't know, something is off. I can just tell you that whatever is off, I can tell you that it doesn't elicit in me the same kind of like, ooh, that looks fun. And maybe that's because I'm coming preloaded with the fact that I know it's really simmy. But this just kind of looks, it looks dull. It's almost like this is the Death Stranding of racing games, right? It's just like, and I enjoyed Death Stranding. I'm not mocking Gran Turismo. I'm just saying that it feels so about giving you the real experience of walking or driving that who's into this? GTA 6 sold 5 million, right? Which is not a lot. Which is absolutely not a lot for a first-party title. On PS4, right? Wasn't it on PS4? Given that, Spider-Man sold 20 million, Uncharted, on and on. So CR says this looks dope as hell for him. What is it that you think looks dope as hell? John Flattery says it will sell consistently over the course of a year. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt people are going to love this. There's no doubt, even if you can make the argument that the graphics in Forza Horizon are more pleasing, the people who are into car porn, and I don't say that jokingly, I say that, you know, I know people like that. They love this shit. They're going to eat this up with a fucking spoon. The question is just, is there a lot of them? Is there enough of them? GT5 sold 10 million, but GT6 sold 5 million. Right? Is that what you're saying? And if so, what do you think that represents? Dax says sales don't represent quality. Of course not. No one would doubt. Okay, that looks fake. No one would doubt that this is going to be an incredibly popular title. Flubs, that is incredibly not accurate. GT is still incredibly popular. Pretty sure it's PlayStation's highest selling IP. Maybe combined all of the games of which there have been like, you know, that's like saying, I mean, Ratchet and Clank is in the top 10 IP, but there's been like 15 games, all which did about, you know, 4 or 3 million. GT was the tail end. GT6 was the tail end of the PS3. That's why you're saying that it didn't do as well. Okay. Spaz says, is this on PS5? Because that guy's character model looks terrible. Yeah. GT6, thank you, Christopher Gorley. GT6 was a PS exclusive after PS4. Okay, great. So then, you know, Jaffe, look up the GT sales. Okay, let me do that real quick. Hang on. In the meantime, let me make sure I got these super chats. One moment. This one comes in. Thank you, buddy. It's another one from Dennis. Thanks, man. He says, next Microsoft step will be purchase of a Japanese publisher like Capcom Konami. Also, I'm waiting for Microsoft new Evil Within. I would like to see that as well. I haven't played it, but everybody tells me the second one's amazing. People tell me it's really hard for an American company to buy a Japanese company, though, so I'm not entirely sure how realistic that that will be. Okay, so let me look up. CR says, Jaffe, it's seldom you get a game like Gran Turismo. It's a real sim. People didn't like Armored Core because it tried to be realistic. Not for everyone. I like that. Right. I understand. There's nothing about this that I'm taking the piss. I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm just asking because it does look so simmy and it does look so, it looks kind of bland, you know? Do you think that it will be a big success or just like, you know, 5-6 million? Gran Turismo sales franchise. Okay, let's see what we got. Fellas. No, that's I don't want to see it on YouTube. Gran Turismo sales franchise by game. Okay, here we go. What comes up for me? 80 million units for all of them. 4 billion in sales. Okay. There have been 6 full Gran Turismo games, 4 partial versions, 3 different concept games, and Gran Turismo 4 Prologue. Gran Turismo 3 A-Spec is the best seller. So you're looking at 6 full games, about 12. So here they are all right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Global 1 through 3 did 35. So yeah, I mean, you got to put a lot of these together. The last one on PS4 did 8 million. PS3 did 5. Let's go back to PS2 when Sony was really ruling the roost. Gran Turismo 4 did 11. And then A-Spec did 14. So it really hasn't been, I mean, no one's mocking these numbers. It's just, you know, it's okay. All right. Interesting. So it's a solid double. It's not Spider-Man. It's not Uncharted. It's not God of War. It is a solid double that will add to a fan base that is already interested. Okay, good. As someone who's not interested, I can just tell you that the trailer did nothing to get me interested. It made me go, yeah, I'm good. But I've never liked Gran Turismo. I've respected it, but I've never liked it. Where did it go? Where did it go? No, actually, the pair, for 25 years, Polyphony Digital only made Gran Turismo. Well, they actually published, and I think they developed kind of like a mech game, which I forget what it was called. I'm sure somebody out there will tell me. But they also put out they had a launch game, which was a racing game, and it didn't control all that great, but it was pretty fucking cool. It was a lot of fun. It was called Motor Tune Grand Prix. Here it is right here. Omega Boost, right? That was the game they put out. But this is, I guess it's Good God Games. You can subscribe over there. This was the game they put out, which was a lot of fucking fun. The controls were like, and it was trying to be their Mario Kart. It never quite got there. I don't know why my thing's lagging, but it kind of looks like a cross between Mario Kart and what is that game? Ridge Racer. That's 2017 number, Jaffe. I read around Neo Hagen. I don't know if I believe you, but let me go look. You're saying that you think the franchise has sold 90 to... Okay, let's find out. Gran Turismo franchise sales. Okay. So 85 million. That's kind of where we're at. 80 to 85. That's April 2021. So maybe it's kind of gone up. Mario Kart series sold almost 200 million. Well, yeah, I mean that, but this, I'm not, like I said, to me, clearly this game should exist. I think the real question becomes, I'm assuming it cost a shit ton of money to make these fucking things, all the licenses and the time and the perfection. Does it become, like, I don't know what the budgets are. I would have no clue. Let's see. Let me just see real quick. Budget, Gran Turismo, let's just say 7. It's not going to tell us, but yeah, I have no, let's do Gran Turismo 6. I have no way of knowing if it's comparable. But if it is comparable, then you start to go, what? How are you spending the same amount on a Naughty Dog game or a Santa Monica game or even, Tsushima, and you're not making near what you could? I wonder if it's going to need some changes. That's what I'm asking. Adam, thank you, buddy. He says, well, first off, Leo, thank you, buddy. He says, getting on the mic was great. It was good to have you, sir. Thank you so much. You did wonderful. Adam says, Jaffe, thank you. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony buys Square Enix. We'll get to that in a second. But I think we're in weird realms where sacred cows are no longer sacred, and that wouldn't surprise me. I would prefer them, just as a fan, to buy Capcom, but I understand. Jaffe says, Kyle's on fire. There are people who buy PlayStations just for Gran Turismo. Sony practically has the racing sim market on lock from a game. Yeah, and again, another good example is baseball, right? Baseball was incredibly surprising to me that it sells as well as it does. Like, baseball? I'm like, nobody talks about baseball. It's like, yeah, but it's exactly what Kyle is saying. It's like the fans of that series, A, it's the only game in town that's that good that's also has the license, and B, the fans just fucking eat it up. So I don't doubt what you're saying, Kyle. I think that makes total sense. But I just wonder, again, will the budget allow it to continue to play just to that very specific audience? Maybe. Maybe the answer is yes. Dennis, thank you, buddy. He says, Jaffe, check out The Surge and The Surge 2. Great Souls-like games. One of the few games with disabled persons as the main character. Souls-like sci-fi. I think that's on, like, Game Pass or Luna. I will check that out. But I have a feeling, Dennis, my Souls gaming is going to be very busy with trying to get Bloodborne played as much as I can and then going to Elden. Then I'll probably need a break from it. But I'll look at it when I get back to it. They also did Tourist Trophy talking about polyphony, says Down Phoenix. Okay, understood. Okay. Hang on. MLB The Show is by far the best sports game on the market, says SM. Such a great series. I think, again, for people who like simulation sports, I have no way of doubting that, but I hear that again and again and again, and it sells so well, so consistently that it makes no sense that you would be wrong in your assessment. But I'm kind of like an NFL Blitz guy, or MLB The Hits guy, and anything much more advanced than that, I kind of my eyes glaze over pretty soon. Pretty quick. Gamers, says VV, are up in arms when they say X game copied Y game, but then they buy these games for the 100th time. I don't think most gamers are up in arms. If they were up in arms, you wouldn't be having the sequels that we have and the games that look like everything else. They might say they are, but they're posturing. Yes, Jaffe, do you know if the Suicide Squad game being delayed is true? I know that I saw the news story all over the place that it's pushed out to 2023, but Star Wars and I think Gotham Knights are still planned to hit 2022. But I did see that that Suicide Squad was indeed pushed. Okay, Torchwood, are you there, buddy?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, what's going on?
So I kind of wanted to, I guess, add a little bit of context. You got into it a little bit with the GT7 thing, but it has been really interesting because a great comparison point, like you in the chat brought up, is MLB of it's an unexciting exclusive. Like, where people who play the games like Returnals or Uncharted or Horizon, you're not going to look at an MLB or a GT, and even though it looks amazing, you're not going to be like, okay, but what else? Because your reaction to that was kind of very interesting, because I've been out of the series for a long time, I think maybe since the PSP one even, and watching the state of play was really interesting because they did the thing of bringing me into this, even as someone who is very interested in not only exclusives but just kind of hey, what's some cool tech stuff. I like that. I think the state of play is really different when you view it from the perspective of what are we besides a racing game? Because it's funny that they ended it with gameplay, because they spent 20 minutes basically just talking about their options and everything else for it. And I thought the stuff like that was the most interesting, of saying we are just as much GT as we've ever been over 25 years, but we're here to show you why this is a big deal. And I think what a lot of people miss with that is, yes, Gran Turismo has been a huge seller, but like you mentioned, it's extremely uneven. Not every series is selling as many as GT4, and one of the ones that are least talked about is GT Sport, the PS4 iteration. There is a huge, because I'm not sure how much of this you would have been aware of, but even at Sony at the time, the whole thing between Gran Turismo 6 launching after the PS4 to Drive Club and GT Sport being in production at the same time, it was a big thing of why should we care about Gran Turismo if Sony doesn't even care about Gran Turismo? And while GT Sport definitely lasted a lot longer and got a lot more attention than Drive Club ever did, it was a really soft seller, even though it was very consistent. And
hang on a sec. Was GT Sport kind of like their version of Horizon? It was arcadey?
No, that's the thing. GT Sport was their soft reboot, but it wasn't a soft reboot. This was in that era of remember when Street Fighter V came out, and everyone was it's a good game, but it's a skeleton, and that's what GT Sport was. It launched light and it updated for years.
Okay,
but that wasn't very in vogue at the time. It was cool, you made a pretty looking game, but there's not a lot of meat on this bone. And so GT Sport was here's a really pretty version of GT6 with a lot of its features taken out because they wanted to make everything look pretty. So GT7, I've been really impressed that Sony gave it as much time to cook as it was, because I know it was supposed to be a 2021 game. On top of that, it is. I view this one as this is the series' kind of make or break thing of I hope it does really, really well, because Sony's pitching this not as an MLB. An MLB they know is going to sell well. And an interesting kind of comparison that people don't really talk about is look at the special editions that Sony is selling for the show and GT. The special edition for the show is only on PS4. You get a PS5 code with it, but they know the least common denominator for that game in terms of selling it on their hardware is PS4, because there's a way larger audience. Whereas GT is a PS5 version with a code for the PS4 version. Because they know if you're going to be playing a game like Gran Turismo 7, you do not want to play that on the PS4 if you have the chance. That is a game. Because, look, there's not even footage of GT7. I'm sure it runs fine, but there's not going to be ray tracing. It's a very different, it's very much trying to be that boutique no one can top this.
It
kind of
feels,
experience.
it absolutely feels very precious. Where I think the sports game, the MLB game, it comes out every fucking year. Like it's more like a workman-like product, which is beloved, but it's not. Yeah, this thing feels almost like, don't breathe on it wrong. You can look at it, but I don't want you to touch the car. It's got that it's very standoffish, but I guess that's what those folks like. And Sony's not a dumb company. My eyes were open when I found out what a great seller MLB was, because we don't talk about it and hear about it sort of in the bubble of hardcore gamers doesn't mean it's not out there keeping the lights on at Sony, and specifically Sony San Diego, because it goddamn is. Maybe this will do gangbusters. I just know I looked at it and I literally was like, well, if I can't sleep tonight, I could take NyQuil, or I could watch this State of Play again.
I'm extremely worried you're the majority, and that's one of my things is I would hate for Sony to lose, or I guess not lose, but drop Polyphony, because my worry is that most people are going to look at it.
They will never drop Polyphony, but they might come in and say, we gotta turn some screws. Who's the guy that's the big name over there? Who's the auteur? Is it it's not Yamaguchi, is it? It's
really similar to that. My worry, I guess, is if
I'm
you
saying
look
he might be like, fuck it, I'm super fucking rich. I've been doing this, Yamuchi. I've been doing this forever. If you guys want to turn this into something else, that's cool, but I'm out of here. He might do that, but but I think you're right.
The studio landscape, I guess, is so different now, especially after the expedition of like everyone from Sony Japan, where it's very much like there's like they can't like pivot like Guerrilla. Guerrilla pivoted really well from Killzone to Horizon. Like if this isn't going to do like at least 5 or 10 million copies, I can very easily be like, Sony's like, I hope one of you guys have a great idea, because we're not going to fund GTA.
Right. Maybe we'll just let this live as a live service, and have like a much smaller crew on it. But I mean, it could do gangbusters. Somebody says, how is Jaffe the majority? He's never bought a GT game. Well, that's not true. I did get them for free when I worked at Sony, and I played them for about 20 minutes, and I never went back. But that said, though, I think that's kind of the point, is most people have not bought a GTA, a Gran Turismo game. It's a different kind of thing.
Do you remember actually what Yamauchi said in the beginning of it? He's actually talking very importantly about car culture, and it's like I like at least they're aware car culture is very much a niche thing, way more now than when GT was in its prime like heyday. Like car culture is very different in the sense now, and like I'm at least glad they're at least kind of like leaning into that, because like the one saving grace is what you mentioned. I hope that this is one of those 10 like live service games Sony is planning on treating like a real live service, because I'm glad this game is launching with way more content than I would have expected. On top of it, of them being like, hey, this is changing every week. Like this is not just going to be actually, and if you again going back to the box, every box copy of this game says on it requires internet for most functionality. Like you can play it offline, obviously, but it's like, hey, we're going to be changing things about the car and the ecosystem of this world all the time.
Right. Yeah, well, maybe I don't think it's been listed as one of the 10, but to be fair, Sony hasn't made that list. People have been speculating, but okay, so this is a game after watching the State of Play, you're picking this up. You'll get it.
Yeah, I basically went in being pretty timid of like, I was like, I'm not sure, but this one gave me a full 180 of like, okay, I believe in this team. This looks great. And also, my big thing with this, and I haven't heard too many people talk about it, this screams to me like a game that is going to be one of those few, like, when you play a game that really uses the DualSense, like, just hearing them talk about how they're going to use those triggers and the haptics on it, I really, really think they could do something cool with it.
Okay, one final question for you. If you could buy only one, would you buy the new GT, a new MotorStorm, or a new Drive Club?
I would be... I would actually more so say GT, because I think it's a lot easier to just be like, we're going to do some arcadey fun. And if you look at stuff like what Codemasters has done, there's not like a drought of it. Whereas like with really heavy simulation stuff, even like this, Microsoft even themselves have had to delay the next proper Horizon for almost like 5 years now at this point. It's a hard nut to crack, and even when you think you have it cracked, not everyone wants to eat what's inside, but like something about 7. I'm looking forward to the. I would never have thought I'd say this, but I'm as excited for GT7 as I am to play Horizon 2, just because like it seems like an experience I can only really get on my PS5. Where as much as I love MotorStorm, I know what I'm going to get if I got a MotorStorm next year.
Gotcha. It makes sense. All right, man. I appreciate the education. You know a lot more about this one than I do, and thank you for sharing it with everybody. Thanks, man.
No, have a good one.
All right, you too. Good. All right, so let me get the super chat. 48 Shark says, Jaffe, thank you, buddy. He says, GT Sport was a PvP game with bare bones single player. Yeah, I remember hearing that, and it was meant to be. I mean, I don't know if it did really well or not, right? You would know. I wouldn't know, but I do remember. Was that the one that came out and everybody was like, "When are you going to release new content?" It just launched kind of with nothing. This is a comment from Legends. He said the combination of Horizon, GT, Tokyo Ghostwire, Forspoken, Final Fantasy Origin, Stranger of Paradise will sell PS5s. I mean, there's zero doubt. We've talked about this before. I mean, there's zero doubt. And then you throw in God of War as well. That Sony at the moment, based on what they've announced, has a much stronger 2022 lineup than Game Pass does. Game Pass, has the benefit of being... Game Pass can get away with being good enough because it's free, right? Whereas Sony has to be best of breed because it's $70. But even with the Game Pass advantage, there's not a lot right now other than the Bethesda game, the Starfield game, that I'm going, wow, I can't... I mean, I'm going to play a lot more on Game Pass than Sony, only because, there's just more stuff to play. And when I finish a Sony game, I'm done with it. I'm moving on with my life. But every couple of days, there's something new on Game Pass. But yeah, certainly $70 compared to free is, it makes people think twice. But even with that, I think Sony has a better... I think they have a better lineup from what we know. Again, I've said this before. If you're Microsoft, you need to get out there and tell people what's coming for your system that's unique and different. Michael says, I'm still excited for Stalker 2. Yeah, I've never played the Stalker game. Maybe it'll be my new favorite series. Official says Game Pass will start off cheap, but as years pass, it'll be $15 a month. I'm already paying $15 a month, but it's worth every bit. Christopher Gorley, I don't take requests on that because that's not me saying $70. That's actually Jim Ryan, and I can't control him. When he calls in and says $70, that's him doing that thing. Brasi says, Jaffe, how do you feel about a BLT? I don't know what that is. A bacon, lettuce, tomato? I don't like lettuce that much. I like it in salad. Tomato I don't like, and I don't like bacon because it's meat, so I guess, Starfield is doubtful it'll come out this year, says Maddie B. I mean, yeah, but then again, look at Returnal, look at Tokyo, like we were just talking about. There's a lot of games that have come out this year that have been marketed, and we've barely seen anything. So, but yeah, you may be right. You absolutely may be right. If Game Pass was $30 a month, I would still pay because it's that good of a value. I would as well. I absolutely would as well. Okay, so we'll get to that in a minute, Pear. People can't even afford or buy a PS5, release the exclusives on day one, for fuck's sake, on PC. Well, a lot of them aren't ready. Okay. I'm a PS fan. I don't say PS Plus games are free because I can't keep them after my subscription ends. I don't care what you say. I'm telling you, Bacon, it feels free. Netflix feels free. Okay? I know it's not. I'm not a moron. How many times do we have to have this conversation? We're never going to agree on this. Subscription services actually are one of the reasons they're so successful is because they feel free, even though they're not. Right? Okay. This is from Jeff Keeley. Yeah, I mean, I'm not rich, Eric, but that's a good point. It feels free for rich people like you. Yeah. I mean, I'm not rich at all, but I certainly am not worried about paying $15 a month. And in that, it does feel free. It feels, I mean, let's put it this way. When I ordered DoorDash, could I make food at home basically for almost nothing because I bought it at the grocery store? Sure. But if I order DoorDash for me and the family, it's going to cost me anywhere from $30 to $70. right? I mean, that you know, it's you're getting something for it. But when I compare that to getting a month of all these fucking games, you know, you can afford to live off your money doing nothing. Most people, you are rich, says Bukaki. Okay, that's fair. Fair. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not lucky and fortunate and grateful. But when somebody says rich, I think you're talking about somebody who could literally buy the cars that you're seeing in Gran Turismo. I don't got that kind of money. Okay. $15 a month is less money than 2 PS5 AAA games. Yeah. Okay, let me move on though. Let's move on. I want to talk about. Let me get this super chat. Thank you, good sir Dennis. It says Jaffe, check Metro and Stalker games. Very different from majority games you play because it's not made in the U.S. Those games are cult classics. I did play a little bit of Metro, and I just wasn't in the right headspace for it. But I can certainly I certainly can go back and give it a look. But I am going to try Stalker, of course, because it's free. Okay. Wealthiest living 10 years on current money reserves, no income. Okay, I mean, everybody's probably got their own take on it. Anyway, let me move on. Our good friend Jeff Keighley says, and you guys know this, he says, I heard from multiple people, as you might suspect, this is a tweet of his, there are a few other big video game deals in final stages of negotiations. It's going to be an interesting year. I want to talk a little bit about all these acquisitions that have been going on in this year video game world of ours, okay? PlayStation. Let's deal with PlayStation first. Mostly is what we're going to be talking about, that acquisition. This is Jim Ryan is talking after the earnings call. And let me just read you some choice quotes. There's only 2 quotes in this article. This is over on Game Industry Biz from Christopher Dring. He says, this is Jim Ryan talking. He says, I've been on record talking about $70! The fuck? What was that? Jim Ryan says, I've been on record talking about increasing the size of the PlayStation community and expanding beyond our historic console heartland. Now, this can take many forms, says Jimbo Ryan, and definitely one of the main forms it could take is the ability for the wonderful games that we've been making for over 25 years to be enjoyed in different places and played in different ways. We are starting to go multi-platform. You've seen that, he says. We have an aggressive roadmap with live services. We'll talk about that in a minute. And the opportunity to work with and particularly learn from the brilliant and talented folks at Bungie, well, that is going to considerably accelerate the journey we find ourselves on. Yeah. Right? I mean, we talked the other day when this news was announced. That's got to be the reason. Then they came out and said it was the reason, and now it's coming into focus even more why it is that they bought Bungie. This is terribly exciting if you're Sony. Michael Yearwood says, I'm more worried about live service games that are normally not good. Right. This is terribly exciting if you are Sony, because if you anytime you do anything, you have to imagine it's going to go, like, what does it look like if it goes the best it could go? This deal, if it works, and if it doesn't, they had to do something. But if this deal works, thank you, Red in the Sky, for subbing. I appreciate it, buddy. If this deal works, you're talking about the quality of Sony's games, which are second to none at the moment, at least in a number of areas. You're talking about the quality of Sony mixed with the quality of Bungie, and Bungie coming in and making all of this, you hope, positive change into those live service games. And then you imagine, what does Sony look like? What does Sony look like if this gets pulled off? I mean, at that point, can it compete with Game Pass? I think the answer is if they're able to get even 3 of these live service games that are bangers and people don't stop playing their PlayStation because of them, and maybe they cross-play with the PC, which I'm sure they will. Think about what how strong that company becomes in terms of being able to compete with Game Pass. Then you really do have a real choice. It's like premium is on PlayStation and it's no longer GameCube because there's a lot of content that's premium on PlayStation. And you've got much better prices and more variety on Xbox, on Game Pass. If this doesn't work, then they're basically GameCube. But if this works, it's exciting. I mean, what a neat thing to jump forward. He says this is going to be all out there. All 10 games will be, available to play in 2026, at the latest. We'll see some more. I will say this is what he's also said, which struck me a little as odd. Well, let me go back to the servers. He says, with Bungie, we can take something that would have taken a certain number of years, like our service games. He says, I would like to do service games ourselves, but when you have the potential to have a partner like Bungie who has been there, done it all before, learned the lessons, and have got this wonderful, brilliant team who is there and has the potential to help us, we think we can take something that would have taken a certain number of years and significantly decrease the time it will take to get it right. This $3.6 billion, no matter else what you hear, this is about buying an accelerant to their goal that if they don't achieve it, they cannot compete with Microsoft. I think it's very smart when you see it presented this way. The one thing that's going to be interesting to me is you're talking about a company that for the longest time has been so brilliant in its ability to give its teams a great deal of freedom while still being able to make, not always, but still being able to make games that are incredibly successful and beloved and profitable. Okay. Now you're talking about, like, when I was at Sony and even after, when I have my ear to the ground on this stuff, but I mean, I'm sure this has happened, but never at this scope. The idea of a bunch of people embedding from this totally different culture and coming into Naughty Dog and Sony Santa Monica and Sucker Punch and going, this is how we do it. This is, here's what I can tell you. When I was doing Drawn to Death with Sony, my whole pitch to them was, I want to do free-to-play for gamers when it was a free-to-play title. Now, it didn't work, but they allowed me to craft the business model as much as they allowed anyone at Sony to craft the characters, the story, the art, the gameplay. It was all part of that vision of sort of that auteur vision or team auteur vision of what this is you're trying to create. I think when you've just spent $4 billion on Bungie, you're probably going to have some growing pains when it comes to people coming in and I'm just making up a scenario. I don't know anything about it. If you've got Neil Druckmann like, well, I think The Last of Us multiplayer needs to be this because it's a metaphor for Ellie and Joel, and it's going to be good enough in terms of making money, but we don't want to push that because, and I could see the Bungie guys going, that's great, but would you like this to be a very successful service game? If so, you need to do X, Y, and Z. I'm curious how that is going to get managed, because that seems like it could be a really interesting shake to their the way Sony first party is used to making creative choices. Do you think they will focus on live service for their standing single player, or will they focus on new live service IPs? Top Gun Zero, what did I just say? I said I'm just making this up. It's an example. Then he's like, Neil Druckmann doesn't give a fuck about multiplayer. I know. That comment, out of everything I said, if what you took from that comment was you wanted to share a little bit of Neil Druckmann's thoughts on multiplayer, you really didn't hear a thing I said, which is probably more my fault than yours because I probably didn't communicate it all that well. Okay. But there you go on that. Now, this was interesting. This is on, this is GameSpot. And GameSpot has a bit of a different theory about why this acquisition happened. And I think this is moronic. This is sort of the headline of this stream is, or the title of this stream is Destiny a really good brand? Okay. Hello, Victor Alistine. Thank you so much for joining the Diet Soda Soldiers. There, smoke the pipe. Smoke that down, baby. Smoke it down. At the end of this stream, we're going to spin the wheel. If you're still here, you get to spin the wheel for a prize along with a good friend, Nomad. Let's see what you get. In the meantime, everybody welcome our newest member to the Merry Band of Fucksticks, good sir Victor, with an emote of your choice. And give him a big, loud, juicy fart wherever you are, because even though he can't smell it and hear it, he'll hear it and smell it in his soul, okay? This is what GameSpot seems to think. And maybe they've changed their views a little bit, because this is a couple days ago when they wrote this, but he says, while we're speculating why this deal happened, and this is a guy named Phil Hornshaw of the Birmingham Hornshaws. While we're speculating, here's my feeling. This is what he says. This is as much about things beyond video games as it is about Sony continuing to expand its PlayStation portfolio. Sony is building out its opportunities to make not just games, but movies and TV shows. Viewed in that light, Bungie is a big win because the developer also has its eyes on other media. So if you're looking at ways games IP can be valuable beyond the sphere of just games, the Bungie acquisition makes a huge amount of sense. Bungie was already planning on adapting stuff from Destiny into other areas, something Sony's expanding on and already has the resources for. I'm sorry, this version of why this deal went down, this narrative, I just call bullshit on it. I call bullshit on it whether or not you've heard it straight from Sony and they're saying it to massage egos at Bungie, or they're like, yeah, sure, whatever, we'll introduce you to PlayStation Productions. Or it's bullshit because Sony didn't say it that clearly and people are extrapolating from what Sony did say. But this idea that intellectual property that isn't already just beloved in the zeitgeist is worth a big chunk of that 3.6 billion is a ridiculous thing to think about. Disney bought Marvel for $4 billion. Disney bought Lucas for $4 billion. Destiny is nowhere near in that league. Now, I'm not talking about Destiny as a game. I'm not talking about the lore of Destiny. I'm not talking about, when I read all the books, I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about. You would win the argument about Destiny's quality of lore, even if it's fucking Shakespearean, is not the point. The point I'm making is that Destiny has been around, 2 has been around since 2017. When was 1? 2014, 2013? This property, it's not like when Tomb Raider came out and it changed everything. People were like, what the fuck is that? And people who didn't even play games knew Tomb Raider or Grand Theft Auto or Doom. No one talks about Destiny. And it doesn't mean it couldn't make a great movie. Of course it could. But to paint this narrative like Sony, which has all these movie makers with scripts they want to make, with pitches, with brands they want to do, the Marvel movies already that they're doing, the PlayStation stuff they can do, the idea that one of the reasons, let's say $1 billion was the value of their ability to create great brands. Come on. That's just absolutely dumb. It's absolutely dumb. Sony. We'll talk about that in a second, Aaron. It is interesting. Disney bought Lucas for Bacon. They bought Lucas for $4 billion, and they also bought Marvel for $4 billion. Go look it up. Marvel and Lucas was about IP. Sony's purchase is about talent. I understand. Is this the second comment you've made, Top Gun, where you're not listening? I know it's about talent, and I know it's about talent to work as an accelerant, mostly for their own service-based games. The idea, though, that George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, J.J. Abrams all work at Bungie, and some of these most important, James Cameron, most important creators of the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years come with the deal, then you would have a point. But, who works at Bungie that they're like, we need that talent? What? Sony Pictures can't go out and hire their own fucking writers? Sony Pictures doesn't have a revolving door of people banging on it going, I want to pitch you my movie. I want to pitch you my movie. Trust me, that's not why they bought this company. It's very, very silly. Destiny is weird, says Mechanics. You turn it on and play and think it looks cool, but the longer you play, it starts to become meh. I felt the same about New World and Valheim. Yeah, I'm totally not knocking. I don't know that. I can't speak to that. I am absolutely not knocking the quality of it. For all I know, it is, like I said, I mean, I know it's not Shakespearean, but I understand that it could be better than Star Wars. It could be better than Marvel and Star Wars put together. I'm simply talking about it's had almost a decade to, concretize into the zeitgeist, into the social fabric of geeks. People aren't going around at Halloween dressed up as one of the classes from Destiny. They're just simply not. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Sarcastic. They need IP to populate Spartacus. They definitely need that. If it is, I mean, we don't really know what it's going to be, but if it is even close to Game Pass, even close, they absolutely need that. Listen to this now. This is interesting. This is Sony's quarter 3 2021 earnings call was today. I want to just read a little bit of choice quotes about what was said there. And we will get to how this incredibly financially valuable acquisition affects the people who actually work at Bungie in terms of, are they going to be driving Ferraris soon? Bukaki says Destiny has done some really interesting things, but you wouldn't know it unless you had your eye on it. Right. And it's got a very passionate, consistent fan base. I saw in the chat, you guys were saying it's like 800,000 engaged people. I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying that that's nothing compared to the brands we've been talking about. How much would you pay for Naughty Dog, says Top Gun, today? And how much would you have paid for them on just Jak and Daxter? I mean, today, oh man, I would probably spend it. You know, a lot of it really depends on assuming they can make the kind of deal that it sounds like they made with Bungie, where they can retain talent. Because you're not really getting any intellectual property with Naughty Dog. It's you're buying the talent. I guess I would say if you felt good about being able to retain the key people that make that studio what it is, I would say I'd pay. I mean, I know as much as you do about valuation and what multiplier it needs, but my guess is I would pay $1 billion for back in Jak and Daxter days. I probably would have paid. I don't know what they paid for them. It wasn't a lot by today's numbers. Was it like 50 million? I guess by today's numbers, I'd pay. I mean, if they had done Crash, it's hard to say. I mean, because even when they did Jak and Daxter, they were still ruling the roost, but times were different. So I don't know. 20 billion? You would pay 20 billion for Naughty Dog? That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous, official channel. Come on now. But people are like Brian King's talking about Destiny. Destiny has 40 million player base. Don't downplay it. Yeah, Brian, but I'm in that 40 million player base. I signed up for it. I played the beta. I played it for about a week, and I haven't gone back in years. So you have to really look at daily active and monthly active users, and you have to look at actually the amount of money, like the average spend per user, and how much the acquisition costs are for those users that are actually spending and coming into the game and giving sort of social currency to and again, clearly it's an insanely successful franchise. I'm not knocking it. I'm talking simply about not its ability to make money as a video game, its ability to branch out based on sort of how it's connected so far. And again, I mean, I'm sure they're going to do things with it. They've talked about doing new IP in the Destiny space. I mean, one of the things with Destiny is, at least you would be forgiven. Now, maybe someone like Bukaki could tell you, but you would be forgiven if you haven't kept an eye on Destiny and you said, are there even any characters in this game? Because they're all people wearing masks and shit, right? You don't have like a Solid Snake, or maybe you do, but I don't know who it is. All I see are people wearing masks from the different classes. Legend says $3.6 billion is total valuation of what Destiny was to the industry. Bungie, what they did, doing, and will do, and getting early. Why wait to get them when they cost $70 billion? Well, yeah, I mean, any time you acquire someone, you're making, that's what the multiplier is, right? You're making an assumption based on who they are, of what they're going to bring to the table that hasn't been cooked yet, and you kind of are speculating that the value, like Insomniac. I mean, the Insomniac thing, I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was a steal, given what they've been able to do for PlayStation since they have been acquired. Master Luke, thank you, buddy, for becoming a member. In a couple minutes, we'll let you spin the wheel as well with Victor and Nomad. Thank you so much. Get a smoke at the pipe. And I'm going to throw in my favorite emote right now, and everybody else, I invite you to do the same. This goes out to you, good sir, Master Luke. It is a picture of Hogwash's mother. But that's done with love, sir. That's done with nothing but love. I know you're in the call. I'll bring you in just a second. Hello, Rob the Mod. What's up, man?
Hey, oh no, I'm just, you're in call and waiting room, so I'm making sure nobody comes in and screws with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Cannibal, I'll bring you on in just a second. Blah, blah, blah. I'm going to read this because you keep posting it, but I mean, I don't know really what you want me to tell you, sir. He says, hey, Jaffe, Game Pass ain't free, and good luck when they raise prices every year like Netflix. Ha ha. Cool. I don't have a problem with it. There is a friction point where they can raise their prices enough, and I would say we're done. But they're nowhere near it, nor is Netflix. And if they get near it, I'll subscribe like a lot of people do. Like, I literally just turned on live TV for Hulu 2 days ago. I wanted to watch the Rams game against the 49ers, and I want to watch the Super Bowl. The minute the Super Bowl is over, I'm going to cancel my Hulu Live and just go back to normal Hulu. This idea, there's no ha-ha. Customers are getting a lot of opportunity. They're getting a lot of value. And I'm sorry if you don't play on Xbox and you don't get that. I hope Spartacus comes to fight and they provide an equally compelling, but it sounds like different service. But this idea that it's like, ha-ha, got ya. You don't really own the games. They go away if you cancel or if they only stay on the thing for 8 months. Yes, I'm not a moron. I'm aware the games go away. I'm aware I don't own them. I'm 50 years old. I have a college degree. I'm relatively smart. And even if I was none of those things, if I was a 12-year-old hanging out in the playground smoking some dope for the first time, I would still understand that I don't own the games and they go away after a couple of months or 8 months or 10, whatever the deal is. This is not rocket science. I appreciate you don't like it and or don't have an Xbox. Totally fine. Neo says, Jaffe, should Sony buy more studios with IPs or keep looking for more talented studios? I mean, at this point, if I was Sony, I would be buying intellectual properties at this point because it takes so long. I wouldn't buy studios. I wouldn't buy Konami, but I would pay up a lot of money to get their brands. I would certainly buy Capcom, because then you are getting the talent and you are getting some amazing IPs. But at this point, it takes so long to create an IP. And you don't know if it's going to connect. I mean, look at Days Gone. Days Gone, a lot of people like me love, but it clearly wasn't a big enough IP for Sony to say, let's keep rolling the dice with that one, right? If you get something that you already know has been road tested, like Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Metal Gear Solid, and Silent Hill to a lesser extent, Street Fighter for sure, it's just going to make it a lot easier. And Sony already has, goodness, how many fucking games are they working on? A lot of which are brand new IP. There's only so much oversight you can give to that. Brian King says, what is there to play on Game Pass this year? Value is nothing if you're not excited. Oh, of course. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Just like, there's a lot of subscription services I don't subscribe to because they don't currently have anything I want to play. But right now there's a lot on Game Pass I'm enjoying playing. But from a business standpoint, I think unless they announce some really big bangers pretty soon, the average person is going to look at it who doesn't really gravitate to the indie stuff or the weird stuff or the AA stuff like I do, and they're going to go, oh, no, Sony's got a much better 2022. I think that's absolutely clear. Let me read you some things from this call. Q3 sales decreased 8%, lower than last quarter. when they launched PS5 and sold the major launch titles. So they were down a little bit. This one was more interesting. Total gameplay time of PlayStation users in December 21 was 20% lower the same month of the previous year. Now, a lot of that's probably the pandemic, I assume. A lot of that's the fact that the PS5 had just released, but I'm assuming they're counting the PS4 as well. But they think that it's lack of major titles, and they're basically saying in the fourth quarter ending March 2022, we expect user engagement to increase because the major first-party titles, Horizon, Forbidden West, and Gran Turismo, will be released. So I think that makes some good sense. Hang on a second. Tone says I canceled my Game Pass while all the Sony games are coming out. That's the benefit. You cancel and pick up where you want. Right. It's a perfect scenario. It's a perfect fucking scenario. Top Gun says no big hits in December. Horizon's delay hurt them. Yeah, but I think they have a great year coming up. So they basically I mean, we've heard them say this before, but to have it in a financial report where they can't just lie or spin, they weren't even using kind of language that they could kind of sneak around. They say in the call, once part of Sony, Bungie will operate as an independent studio and continue to publish its content on platforms other than PlayStation, right? So they come right out and say it. Now listen to this. This is why they bought Bungie. From calendar year 2014 to calendar year 2021, this is from the Sony earnings call today, the quarter. The size of the global game content market doubled. The size of the global game content market doubled, driven by add-on content revenue from live game services. It doubled, and it was driven by live game services, people paying for microtransactions. As much as you might hate them, as much as I might hate them, and I do for a lot of them, you can't deny the big bags of Scrooge McDuck money sitting in front of these people, okay? Driven by add-on content revenue from live game services, which grew at an average annual rate of 15% over the course of those 7 years. Every year it popped up another 15%. They expect the trend to continue. Now listen, this is why they bought them. Bungie has capitalized on the opportunity from an early stage by incorporating live game services into its premier franchise. It has accumulated a wealth of experience and superb technology in that space. The strategic significance of this acquisition lies not only in obtaining the highly successful Destiny franchise, as well as major new IP that Bungie's making, but also incorporating into the Sony group the expertise and tech that Bungie has developed in the live game service. We intend to use these strengths when developing game IP at the PlayStation Studios as we expand into the live game service area. Through close collaboration through Bungie and PlayStation, we aim to launch more than 10 diverse service games by the fiscal year ending March 2026. It's pretty fucking clear that, they are in this to play the live service game. I don't think it's going to hurt their single player stuff. I think if they can pull off this and keep their single player, then I will agree with Brian in that Sony really cannot be beat. Even with that amazing deal that is Game Pass, if you suddenly have some of the best service games, just like you have some of the best action adventure games, why would you go anywhere else? The deal is better on Xbox, but it would be hard to turn that down if they can pull this off. Last thing I want to say about this is interesting, and this is not that unusual, but it's kind of unusual. Well, let me just tell you what it is. We'll talk about it. Bungie's a private company. This is still part of the call. The majority of those shares are owned by its employees, so the payment of the consideration is structured to incentivize the shareholders and other creative talent to continue working at Bungie after the acquisition closes. Approximately 1/3 of the $3.6 billion consists of deferred payment to employee shareholders, conditional upon their continued employment and other retention incentives. So, Sony's a mostly up-and-up company. I've always found them to be trustworthy. I don't think they're scummy humans. Like, if this was Bobby Kodak's company, it would probably be like, well, yeah, we had to lay off these people. Looks like we're going to get $500 million back in the kitty. Or, oh, your games have to hit a Metacritic of 92. You got a 90. Sorry. There's another $600 million that stays, that I can dole out, So, this is interesting, but it's a key man agreement, which most acquisitions come with. These amounts will be paid over the course of several years after the acquisition closes and will be recorded as expenses for accounting. We expect 2/3 of these deferred payments and other retention incentives to be expensed in the first 2 years after we close. So, the good news is the employees own the company, which means a lot of them stand to make a shit ton of money if they can jump through these hoops. And obviously, no one put a gun to their head. They're like, hey, do we want to fucking sell? I don't know if there was a vote. I don't know if it was just, the people who own the A stock or everybody voted. I have no idea how it went down at Bungie. But certainly they're going to be waiting a while, which is what you need because it's a talent acquisition. But it'll just be interesting. I mean, you can really screw people over with this if it's not kind of airtight when it talks about other retention incentives or conditional upon their continued employment. If I was this guy, who had a large percentage and then I got acquired with the company and something happened and I lost my job and suddenly I'm out $10 million, I'm Sony's never been that kind of company to me. The only time I remember is sitting with the head of all their lawyers at dinner one night, and I've told this story before, and he looked me right in the eye, and he said, yeah, we always fuck you creatives over. And he wasn't saying it like I'm sorry. He's like, yeah, aren't we a bunch of stinkers? But I've never known them to be a kind of company that would fuck you just to be cruel. I'm sure this is a deal that's a good deal for everybody involved. Gary, thank you, buddy. He says, who can say if Bungie can even make a positive impact on other games? Destiny 2 has its own issues and realistically how long to implement their feedback. Yeah, all I assume is you and I don't know the conversations that Jim Ryan has had with Bungie or Herman has had with Bungie or Yumi Yang has had with Bungie. Ultimately, Sony must have felt good enough about when their education and advice and experience can flow into the Sony games and also felt good about the percentage chance of success that they will be able to integrate that advice in a meaningful way that they said, let's pull the trigger. If you want Take-Two, says Lyro, how do we know about Sony's budget power for acquisitions, the market cap, cash in hand? We don't know. We have zero. I don't know. Maybe somebody like, certainly someone like Pachter would know more than I about what Sony can really afford to do and what they're willing to do in terms of loans and assets and things like that. But yeah, I have no idea. Jaffe, why these live service games make so much money? It's hard for me to understand. It's really easy. Well, first, they're not all terrible. Eric says they're terrible games, man. They're not all terrible. A lot of them have gotten better and better and better. But what I will tell you is because they're mostly free. And free, good enough, I've said this over and over, and a lot of hardcore people don't want to hear it, and you don't have to like it. I don't even like it all the time. But you can't deny it, which is the lower your barrier of entry, if your product is good enough, you are going to be a big success. It's why more people back in the day watched Full House or the Jim Belushi Show, which by all accounts, I don't think I've ever watched a full episode, was a horrible sitcom. But it did substantially better than, The Sopranos in ratings. Because it was free. I don't have to pay anything. I don't have to call the cable company. I can sit down, turn it on. Is it Shakespeare? Is it even Jim Carrey level comedy? No. It's good enough, right? That is why. So you get into a service-based game that happens to be great, like a Destiny or a Halo Infinite or whatever, a Genshin Impact, and you get in, it gets its hooks in you, and it's easy to spend a little money here, a little money there. I've spent $30 on Halo Infinite just to buy some stupid fucking armor. But I love the game. I wanted to toss it some money, and, there you go. Hell, MLB The Show makes a lot of money in microtransactions. That's just kind of how they do it. Yeah, that's a good point, though, Top Gun. Sony, here's what he says. Sony will do high quality live service games like Gran Turismo. I mean, they have to be careful. I hope you're right. I hope you're right, because that's what a neat idea to bring into the live service space, that sense of artistry and boutique creation that Sony first party does so well. But at the same time, you have to be careful, because part of what makes a live service game work is its ability to relatively quickly churn out meaningful new content. And meaningful new content churned out quickly is rarely the purview of boutique high-end development, right? And how is that going to work? It's like, you know, the thing I will never forget is being at DICE one year, and this is before free-to-play games really ruled the roost, but they were huge in the East, and a guy came over to talk about them, and people were debating about, well, this is never going to catch on in America, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. And the guy said, let me explain something to you. He said, you guys take, I think he was talking about, it might have been Gran Turismo or MotorStorm 1, or like, you guys take 5 months to make a new level and 2 months to make a new car or whatever. It's like, and then you put it in a pack and maybe you release it and you charge $9 or $12 or $20 for 4 tracks in a car. Or I don't know which game it was. Maybe it was MotorStorm Apocalypse or something like that. And you guys spend about $3 million, whatever, and you know, here's your return. And it's, you know, if the game's good, you take a risk, but if the game's good, you make a nice profit. It's like, I go to my guys and I say, you see those blue sunglasses that guy's wearing? I want you to make me a red pair and make them shiny, and I want you to sell those for $1.99. And by the end of the day, we're well into $5-6 million in profit off a pair of sunglasses, digital sunglasses, that literally took 4 minutes for the artist to create, and then probably about a day for the thing to go in the code and get bug tested, right? Come on. I mean, you know, you can't deny it. So I wonder if their boutique mentality is going to be a bit of a sticking point, but I'm sure they'll get over it because the money's fucking there. Yeah, $20 for Kratos or alloy skins in Fortnite. That's the ducats. Well, my understanding is that team crunches like a motherfucker. Not just, I mean, they're all over the world because they've got to consistently put out new content. SM says, I have probably put 200 hours into Fortnite, at least 10 hours this season. It's a really great service game, not pay to win at all, can enjoy all the content free and just monetize cosmetics. Right. Bend over, thank you, buddy. He says, could we ask the government to ban live service games? You can ask the government to do whatever you want, but my guess would be if the government banned live service games, you would have to have a compelling reason why the people who run live service games are breaking the law, and the government would sue them to stop them from breaking the law. But chances are you would certainly have a First Amendment issue unless you were to say, I'm not banning Fortnite, I want to ban the monetization issue, in which case you would have to point to a law. Is it gambling? No. Like, what is the law that these guys are stepping over the line with? So no, I know you're kidding, but no, you couldn't do it. Dennis, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, competition of huge corporations and games is great for the consumer. Microsoft is only making 50 games alone with Blizzard at this point. Right, along with Blizzard at this point. The other thing I think people have to be aware of, and again, I talk about this all the time, but look at what the Yacht Club games announced today. All this big stuff, that's going on. That's totally going on. But guess what? You're still getting these great indie gyms that are made of teams of like 10 or 11 people. Their hearts are in it. That's not going away. That is never going to go away. It's only going to get easier and easier as games get easier and easier to make. So you just got to be able to be willing to not just hit the steak and lobster at the Vegas buffet. You got to go down to the end. Oh shit, they have, Thai food down here. What the fuck kind of dessert is that? Oh, that tastes great. You got to be a little bit less picky when it comes to your games, and you're going to have a great time. Games right now are better across the spectrum, I think, than they've ever been. I appreciate that, Dennis. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, so Matty B says, I paid $15 for a Lamborghini in Rocket League. It's sad, but it works. Absolutely works. Absolutely works. Kyler, I don't agree. He says, I think Sony should focus on indies. I think Sony needs to open, somebody said this the other day, Sony needs a video game equivalent to Sony Pictures Classics, where they're like, look, we're going to bring our Sony producing mojo into it with indie developers, and we're going to spend, anywhere from $300,000 to $5 million, and we're going to continue to push the medium forward, and every now and then we're going to get a massive fucking hit that's going to pay for all of it. I agree with you, but I absolutely do not think that should be their main contribution. They'll get pummeled. They'll be out of business in a year. Troy Jaffe says you're enjoying Bloodborne. I'm loving it. I am loving it. I can't wait to go back and play it tonight. I'll probably stream it if I'm not too tired. PSX Bloodborne, I haven't played yet. I'm playing the real one right now, so it's not even on my radar. I haven't seen the War Hospital strategy announcement. I mean, I know Movie Games is doing it, and I know they've pushed it, but I didn't know if they have done the release date yet. That would be great. Okay. Sector says, I've spent over $2,500 on Genshin Impact since October 2020. Reason is I pay is I can afford it, and it constantly gives me new maps with high production storytelling. There you go. There you go. All right, let me get some calls real quick. Let me make sure I got all my topics done. I want to make sure there's nothing I didn't hit that we can't move until tomorrow. We talked about the brand. The Sony CFO, Hiroki Totoki. The little things, fellas, the little things. Hiroki Totoki of the Old Smoky Totokis has come out and said, I think it was during the earnings call, he said Sony's position as a multimedia company, he says it's not just for the game-making area, but the multi-use of IP and merchandising of IP, like a game title put into movies. Bungie wants to nurture the IP they have in a multidimensional manner, and that's their hope. For that, we believe we can help with that. We have Sony Pictures and Music, and Bungie can leverage our platform so their IP can flourish. So back to that idea that I don't think this is anywhere close to being, maybe for Bungie it is, but Bungie's been around for 30 years. They know if they have a property that can be turned into a movie, they don't need to be a subsidiary of Sony. If they have something Hollywood wants, Hollywood's going to come banging on your fucking door. Can you, if you're a subsidiary of Sony, maybe get some meetings faster than you could or shove something through? Probably, sure. But the idea that Sony has acquired in meaningful part a IP creation powerhouse is an absolute stupid assumption. And it's either stupid if Sony actually bought them for that reason, or it's stupid for the people who are hypothesizing this is why we went forward. Okay. Let me get some calls. I will save that. I will save that. I will save that. That is all the official topics we've got. So let's bring in some calls. Let's talk to the chat. And let's see what is on your mind. Rocket, you've been waiting the longest. What's going on, sir? There's a rocket in my pocket. Are you there, pal? Rocket, what's up? Okay. Well, Rocket, you're on. Let me know if you want to talk. In the meantime, I'm going to bring in, or I'm going to respond to Chris. Thank you for that super chat, buddy. He says, hey, Bossman Jaffe, if Sony is willing to give similar freedom to future acquisition targets that they have given to Bungie, then Microsoft's checkbook may not be enough to sway developers that prioritize creativity. Yeah, but again, though, I think are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. I think, though, Chris, and thank you for that very generous super chat, buddy. I appreciate it. I think, Chris, the issue there is that Sony basically saying, you guys can put Destiny wherever you want. Sony basically coming into a company and saying, yeah, do what you want with your stuff. We don't care. Is clearly making it, that's not why they acquired them. So you would have to be talking, Chris, about an acquisition that they get something so special, like the accelerant to their service games they're getting with Bungie, that the other stuff is like, yeah, as long as we make the money off it, you go do your thing. Like if Destiny 2 fails tomorrow and their new IP gets canceled by Tencent and none of their new stuff ever gets off the ground, it doesn't matter. It'll hit Sony a little bit, but nothing compared to if they, I'm sure they would trade that tomorrow for a guarantee of success in those 10 service-based games in terms of Sony transferring or having the knowledge of Bungie transferred to them. So I don't think that I mean, you would have to have a company where the creativity is so valuable. Like I said, it would have to be like James Cameron, J.J. Abrams, or the Hauser brothers. I mean, it would have to be something like that. It could not just be a situation like Bungie, in my opinion. All right, Rocket, can you talk? If not, I'm going to bring in someone else. Are you there? Okay, let me bring in Legends. Legends, it's Jaffe. What's up, man? Okay, Legends, are you on? Rob, where are these people? Are they on the thing or no?
They're all on. I just think they might have forgot.
Oh, okay. There's Legends.
There's Legends right there.
Thanks, Rob. What's up, Legends?
All right.
Are you there?
Yeah.
What's up?
All right. Before I wanted to say I'm going to play devil's advocate because everybody in the last stream. Yeah, you hear me?
I can hear you great. Yes.
All right.
Now I can't hear you.
I wanted to play. Okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, go.
I had the stream going in the background. That's why. I wanted to play devil's advocate because everybody was saying the same thing. I don't know if it's American thing where if one company buys something, somebody else has to buy something. Like if I jump, you got to jump too. But the devil's advocate I'm playing that is, what if Microsoft is actually playing catch up because they scared of what Sony? We don't know if Sony was actually doing the deal before Microsoft did the deal with Activision. Microsoft could have heard that Bungie was making a deal, and it was like, oh, that's a slap in the face. You're taking the development we had before.
I don't think Microsoft gives a fuck about it being a slap in the face. I think Microsoft, if what you're saying is accurate, which I doubt, Microsoft would be like, we see what you're doing, and if you somehow get to a point where you can be as good in the service model as you are in the single-player character-based action game model, we have a much harder mountain to climb. I could see that if they knew about it, but there's no way we're going to know for a while. Like, you know, if you listen to Phil Spencer, they had been talking, but it came together relatively quickly, at least the offer. Whereas Sony is saying, no, we don't move that fast. We've been talking to these guys for months. So I think, if anything, it was Sony was talking first, and maybe it got.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Microsoft heard about it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, sure. Does a scenario exist where that's possible? Sure, but I don't think there's any evidence to suggest that's probably how it went down. I think we would have heard.
Because I want to say, where's there's smoke, there's fire. Okay, so Microsoft at first, right? Mm-hmm. The only thing that came out was Halo and Forza. But before they acquired studios, right? We haven't seen nothing from those studios. I guess they long in development. They Bethesda probably found out they long in studio too. So they go around. They went and buy Activision because Activision can put out a game every year. So I'm thinking Xbox is still stuck with games not coming out.
Well, okay.
With both Bethesda and their regular studios that they acquired first.
I mean, what I will say that I think is appealing, although I don't think that, from what we've heard people say, you're going to be seeing, in other words, from what I've heard Phil Spencer say, or whoever these guys, I forget who said it at this point, you may not even be seeing Call of Duty hitting every year. And that news story leaked that a lot of heads over at Activision are like, do we even need to do this yearly? So, but your theory is a good one, which is, look, I think it's clear that, or your motivation for the theory is a good one, which I think it's clear that Microsoft, and depending on what Spartacus is, but certainly Microsoft needs to feed the beast that is the content desire in order to keep people from churning off of Game Pass. So certainly looking at a company like Microsoft that does have a history of yearly releases that are meaningful can't hurt. Although Sony has that with MLB as well. But the problem is, though, if you do that, you take Toys for Bob off the table. You might be taking the guys up here in Carlsbad who did Dark Watch, who have become just a Call of Duty shop at this point. You take them off the table to create new IP or go back to IP that now Microsoft owns, like Crash and Spyro, that could actually become reasons for other people who to get Game Pass, especially considering that Warzone is always going to be updating. So I hear you. It's a neat theory, but I my guess would be if I had to spend money to bet, your theory would not be what I would bet on regarding what went down. All right.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Legends, thanks for the call, buddy. You know I appreciate it, man.
No problem.
All right, I'll see you soon. Legends is like a encyclopedia of video game knowledge. We were on playing Bloodborne the other night, and I was high as a kite, and I'm playing that video game, and he's in the chat with Rob and Spaz and everyone, and I'm just like, my God, this guy has he just knows what's happening in the industry. So we should do like the Legends report or something. All right. No worries, Rocket. Your mic didn't work. Do it next time. Matt B says, should Sony buy Annapurna? Well, funny thing about it is the head of Annapurna is now Nathan Gary, who was the head of Annapurna Interactive, who used to work at Sony Santa Monica, where they kicked off being the external producers, him and Deb Mars, who I think is now the head of Interactive, on What Remains of Edith Finch, one of the best games ever made. So really what they would really be buying is rehiring Nathan away, which I think would be very difficult to do unless he just hates the job, and Deb Mars back and a couple of other people. So, I mean, you buy Annapurna, what do you get? You get the rights, the licenses to some games that, what do you get? Wow, as much as I loved Edith Finch, it's not like the world is banging on the door, to have a sequel. Matt says that could be their indie division. I think, yeah, it depends how they want to view that. There's Annapurna indies, and then there are there's Devolver indies, right? And then maybe there's kind of something in between. Annapurna indies tend to not. You're not going to get Fall Guys probably from Annapurna. And if Sony wants more Fall Guys and they want more Wordles, then Annapurna is probably not the right choice. If they want it more from a feather in the cap of we still support art, blah, 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 for whatever reason, then certainly I think it makes sense. So, Fred, do I think Sony will buy Konami? I don't know. I hope they won't. I don't mind if they buy their IP. I wouldn't buy the company. Cannibal, what's up, man? Cannibal Lecter. I gave you 10 seconds, and I'm going to wrap it up. We got to spin the wheel. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Hello?
Yeah, what's
Can
up?
you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, man?
All right. Nothing much, but I'm bringing numbers today. How about that?
What do you got?
All right. So according to my, forgetting about how to say it, putting in the IP into the developers, right? And I've worked out like a simple math of how much a developer is worth. Okay. So, for example, in 2017, EA purchased Respawn for $400 million. The number of developers was 600. So what it means is they paid around $600,000 per developer.
Okay.
So this is the basic setup. Sony purchased Insomniac. They paid around $1 million per developer.
Oh, per developer. What was the total cost of Insomniac?
$400 million.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So EA purchased Codemasters, I believe, around $1 billion. So around $1.4 million per developer.
Okay.
And Sony purchased Bungie for $3.6 billion, around 900 developers, which is around $4 million per employee. Now, as I stated, this is kind of wishy-washy calculation because it doesn't really kind of count in IP value, right? But it's just the pure developer value.
In the case of Bungie, I'm assuming since it's a privately owned company, everybody has a percentage of the stock, and so, it depends what your percentage is. So everyone's not getting $4 million. Somebody might be getting
not
okay.
It's just the basic setup math. Now here's the kicker.
Okay.
So Microsoft purchased Activision for, I believe, 67 billion dollars.
It's like six,
Their
something like
employee-
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Their employee numbers is around 9,300. They paid 7.2 million per developer
For Activision.
for Activision Blizzard.
The number of, I mean, okay, but I mean, it's kind of irrelevant though, right? I mean, you're making this.
No, I agree. No, I guess what I mean is going forward, right? And I keep stating this crude math doesn't really count in how much the IP is valued, how many IPs you have, etc., right?
Yeah, what is your yeah, but what's your point though? Because none of that's going to actually translate into. Go ahead.
The point of it at the end of the day is you asked how much Naughty Dog would cost, and and based on this, if Sony is willing to pay 400 million per developer, Naughty Dog's cost would be around $2.3 billion.
Not 400 million. You mean 4 million?
Oh, no, sorry, 4 million.
Yeah, but I mean, but it doesn't. It rarely works that way. I mean,
No. I agree.
So why do I care? So why do I care? What's interesting about this?
Why do you care? What it is that basically the cost per developer to acquire a studio.
I know, but that's not how it's calculated.
No, actually, the industry uses this, a little bit in terms of, it's not the whole concept of it.
Yeah, but it depends. It depends. Doesn't it depend on what you're? Doesn't it depend on what you're buying? If you're buying a textile company, then labor and manpower needs to be factored into it, because you can directly from that labor and manpower go, okay, we can extrapolate from that. We're going to be able to, I don't know, make this many sweaters or whatever. But if you're talking about video games, the things that are valuable in that 6.3 billion, for example, are not the fact that out of the 900 employees, honestly, Sony could probably lose almost a third of them and still get most of their value. It would come slower because they would have to rehire the bodies.
Ooh, Jackie, I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned this, right? Yeah. Within teams, anyone with a Twitter account can imagine the most amazing game ever, but without that key artist or without that key,
that's why I said. That's why I said. Right. That's why I said a third.
Yeah.
If you kept 350 of them, those are probably the key people. Probably not all, but probably a lot of those are the ones that have meaningful stock. You absolutely can't do what Sony needs them to do without those key people. But out of those 900, what are you talking about? How many of them are testers? How many of them are juniors? How many of them are just sort of, average programmers, average designers that don't really move the needle?
But I guess what I mean is, at the end of the day, it's a crude example. But what I'm saying is, within that last 2 years, to acquire a studio, the value of a developer has just increased exponentially. That's all. The point I'm trying to make. And any developer who's listening to this, what I'm trying to say is, you are really valuable. Keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing, but without you, they cannot do anything.
I think
that's all it is.
I think that is not a bingo, my friend. You do not get to give me a bingo today. That's not a bingo.
Me?
No, it's not a bingo, because it makes no goddamn sense. It makes no goddamn sense. But I appreciate the call. Call back anytime, good sir.
Here, Pacta. If you wanna make it sense.
I'll listen to Packer. I'll listen to Packer, but it doesn't. That's not why you buy. You are absolutely right, and you're so right that it's factored into the contract. It used to be called a key man agreement. I don't know what it's called now, which is exactly what they were referring to on the call today, which was saying, hey, look, if these people want their full bonuses of that 3.6 billion, they're going to have to stay a while. They're going to have to jump through some hoops. But
I've seen a person who wanted to leave Bungie last year, praying to God that they didn't leave because they just almost hit a jackpot.
Right. So all I'm saying though is the number of people who benefit at that level is nowhere near the number of people who happen to be working at the company. But there are people who do. All right, man. Oh, sorry. I did not mean to cut you off. I am really, really sorry. You did not earn a That's a Bingo today, though, so I'm not going to worry about it. There he goes. Off into the night, our good friend Cannibal. Now, listen. It's wheel spinning time, and I take this nonsense super serious. So here we go. Here's how it's going to work. Let me bring up the wheel. We've got, I don't know which new members are here right now, but we absolutely had a handful of new members join today. So I am ready to spin the wheel for you if you are here. Let me tell you who joined. God damn it, Jaffe picked the wheel. I got so many fucking little boxes. Okay, here's the wheel. Let me open up my page so I can write down if anybody wins anything. Hang on. Let me get this open. Google. Okay. 1 second. Go to docs. Okay, hang on. I gotta give my dog a bath. He's starting to shed, and it is starting to hit me with those allergies all over again. Okay. All right, let's see. So, what do we got? We have Master Luke. He is here. Victor Alistine has joined. Where did this other one go? We actually had a couple more than that, but I don't see them. Hang on. We have Victor, Master Luke, Kadelmon did not get a spin. Okay, so we've got Kadelmon and Master Luke. Oh, I know who it was, and starts with an N. Master Luke will do Kadelmon and Master Luke Victor. Hello, Andre. Good to see you, buddy. Okay, Master Luke and Victor. Wait. All right, let's just do Master Luke first. I'll do them one at a time.